she never been back out from the hospital.
These are the resolutions, meeting that I'm in.
This is the one you got.
Let me take these. This is to her.
Okay.
Is that here?
Well, you know, I think I need a prescription. You wear them so much. Oh, yes. Makes my eyes tired.
Grant application.
Okay. This is one she did today.
Right.
Which are we gonna do?
No, that's he walked on. It's me and.
No, this is not exactly. It's a grant.
This is just a.
Mr. City Attorney, do we have an executive session tonight?
Brenda just needed to know if we needed to.
Okay. Real estate litigation or
Real estate.
real estate? Okay.
And the Lester's gonna do the presentation.
This one is Lester's. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got 6 o'clock. Sir, are we up and operational? Okay. Ms. Ray? We're going to go ahead and bring our meeting to order. Ms. Ray, if you would please call the roll of the council, I appreciate it.
The Honorable Mayor Pro Tem James Whitmore,
He's coming.
the Honorable Linda J. Davis,
Present.
the Honorable Alex Heath. Present. The Honorable Samantha Hudson,
Present.
the Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
And the Honorable Ulysses J. Smallwood.
Present.
Okay, thank you so much. Will we go ahead, Mr. City Administrator, and start with the first agenda item? I'm sorry, Ms. City.
The first agenda item is grant writing consultant presentation by iParamedics.
Mr. Mayor and council members, we are very excited about our new partnership as it relates to grant writing services and preservations. It's something we've sought to get in place. I know Councilwoman Portis Jones has been a strong advocate for this for some time now, and I will turn things over to my very capable Assistant City Administrator, Ms. Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
We're
evening.
excited to bring Ms. Kennedy Shannon before you to talk about their efforts as it relates to obtaining grants for the city of Fairburn. And so at this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Ms. Shannon.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kennedy Shannon. I am the Vice President of Community Programs at iParamedics. And so today I wanted to give you a presentation of what we've done to date. And just to kind of give you a synopsis of our partnership, we're really excited to be working with your city and to identify some grant opportunities for all of your departments. And we've kind of hit the ground running. So part of this is just to give you some information about us and our firm, but also about what we've done to date. So if you look at the slide, this is our team. I'm the Vice President for Community Programs. Some of our senior grant writers assigned to your particular account are listed here. Most of our grant writers are former journalists, so we like to hire writers because writers make the best grant writers, of course, and they're able to tell a very compelling story. Most of our grant writers have experience with cities, states, counties, and territories, so we're very familiar with grants for municipalities. And like I said, we're super excited to be working with your community. As far as our company, who we are, we're iParamedics. We are located in Alpharetta, Georgia. That's where we're headquartered. We were founded in 2003. We're an SBA qualified small business. Our focus includes emergency management and community resilience. Some of our specialties are analytics, data science, and visualization, which really go hand in hand with grant applications. Our grants are really successful because we're able to put the data in a visual format, so you're not just reading it, but you're also seeing the data. Our specialty is also in grant writing and research, training, exercise, and e-learning, and preparedness, continuity, and recovery planning. We have 80-plus employees. We've done work in all 50 states, 39 countries, and over 7,000-plus projects completed. Sorry, I skipped a slide. Why us? We're partnership-based solutions focused. We like to provide the services that you need for us, so we're kind of a la carte. So as you need our services, we're there to provide it. We work in conjunction with your existing staff. We have extensive experience in writing and submitting grants at the federal, state, and local level. We like to leverage multiple funding sources to achieve your funding goals. We like to think that we have a knowledge of the city of Fairburn, and we try to learn as much as we can and have a locally focused approach to writing your grants, because we need to know your story in order to tell it to federal funders and state funders and local funders. And the team is comprised, as I said before, of grant writers, grant managers, compliance specialists, data specialists, attorneys, strategic and operational leaders. So not only am I vice president, I'm also an attorney, so don't hold that against me, but legal writing has come in handy, especially when doing the final review of some of these grant applications. So I'm able to, lend that part of myself to that process. Some of our relevant experience, we've currently done grants for the city of Providence, Rhode Island, the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, Wyandotte County. We were just successful in getting them a $3.5 million grant for the COPS program, which is a federal grant. We are currently doing grant writing for Newton County, Georgia. We're currently doing grant writing for Stone Mountain, Georgia, so we have a lot of local Georgia clients. Also Finney County, Kansas, we're also doing some work for. So we're local, but we're also kind of all over the United States in the type of services that we provide. So our engagement plan with you focused on particular areas. We've got building operations, economic development, fire department, parks and rec, planning and zoning, police department, roads and public works, and utilities. So that's how we have it broken down based on what was presented to us from your your local individual departments. So some of the people we've met with thus far. We have had meetings with Brian Stevens and Jamila. We've also met with the buildings operation team, the economic development department, the fire department, parks and rec, planning and zoning, police department, roads and public works, and utilities. And the names of the individuals that we've met with are in parentheses there. Some grant opportunities that we currently have under review for you all are the Historic Preservation Fund, and I actually just got some news on this one as I was driving in. So apparently, in order to get the Historic Preservation Fund grant, you have to be a certified, what is it called? You have to have a certification that you all don't have, and we want to help you get that certification. And so we're working with that department to see how we can apply to get that certification, because what we're finding is there are a lot of grant opportunities out there, but because you don't have this certification, you're not eligible to receive those grants. So what we'll do is we'll identify the needs and the application for you to get that certification so that you guys can obtain that certification. We're also working on the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank's grants. This is through Roads and Public Works. The AARP Community Challenge has a grant, which is going to assist the Planning and Zoning Department. The IRA Assistance for Adoption of the Latest in Zero Building, that's building operations. The Georgia Council of Arts project, we just submitted that grant, by the way. I think it was $50,000. That grant was just submitted yesterday to you all. The National Endowment for the Arts grant for art projects, that's also economic development. The T-Mobile Hometown Grant, economic development. The NEA Challenge, America Grants, economic development. And the Georgia Rec and Parks Association, new initiative, and that's going to be your Parks Department. So I don't know if you guys got a copy of the grant report, but we have a grant report for your city that kind of details each of the departments and each of the current priorities for each of those departments. And I have it on this slide, and I don't want to bore you going through each slide because it's kind of a lot, but the report kind of sums it up. But each slide kind of lists your current priorities as they have been communicated to us. So for example, for building operations, capital improvements have been listed, city-owned facilities, renovations and improvements, some capital construction projects, your recreation center, your public safety headquarters, some broadband projects, downtown broadband, rural residential services. So you'll see some current grant opportunities that are currently under review and some upcoming grant opportunities. Grants run in a cycle. So we may very well find a grant that your community is set for, but it may not be released until August of 2024. So part of us is finding grants that meet the terms of what you're looking to fund, and also being able to prepare for those grants and knowing when they're coming up, that way we can have the resources available to apply for those grants. Next is your economic development. You've got small business support as some of your priorities, pathways to home ownership, workforce development is listed, placemaking programs, including a permanent art installation, facade program. So some of the grant opportunities, obviously, is the Historic Preservation Fund, the Georgia Council of Art Projects. Some of the grants that we know are coming aren't listed here because they're kind of further down the road, and we don't want to list them until, we get into that season of grants. So for the most part, there are a lot of fire and police grants that are coming up. We're coming into the fire police grant season, which is February, March. So that's really what we're going to be focused on for the most part. And then later in the year, there are some additional grants that may come down as well. And this includes federal, state, and local grants. Same with your fire department. So we got Assistance to Firefighters Grant. You see that it opened January 29th. It closes March 5th. So we're definitely working on that AFG grant for you all. Staffing, and that's for staffing for adequate fire and emergency staff. There's also a grant through the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. We're waiting to hear back on when the deadline will be for that particular grant and when they release those dates. We've not heard back on that yet. Parks and Rec. You guys want a new facility in Duncan Park as a priority, the trail system improvements, creation of new trails, after-school kids programs, the Let's Move campaign and some of those things. And so we're looking at the Georgia Recreation and Park Association. They have a grant. It's due the 23rd of February, so we're currently working on that. And then some upcoming grant opportunities are the Recreation Trail Program for 2025, the GA Outdoor Stewardship Program 2025, and Land and Water Conservation Fund 2025. Planning and zoning. Again, we're looking at the AARP Community Challenge Grant that's currently under review, the National Endowment of Arts Grant, and the Georgia Council of Arts Project Grant. And some of your priorities for that are long-range planning, including planning studies and market analysis, which is good because for a lot of federal grants, your projects that you're submitting have to be part of a plan. They either have to be part of a city plan, some type of economic development plan, a transportation plan. And so being able to get those projects in a plan, scoped out and ready to go, puts you in a really good position to get some of those federal grants because they want projects that they call, quote unquote, shovel ready, that are ready to roll, hit the ground running, and don't need a lot of planning, have already done that part of the process. Police department. So the K-9 program, you would like to restart that program, which is awesome. Law enforcement wellness and resiliency, training materials and resources, technology and equipment, specifically in-car dash cams. So those are the priorities that were identified for us for the police department, and we're currently looking for grants in that particular, in those veins, based on what you've told us. Roads and Public Works, Park Road Extension Project and the pedestrian bridge are the priorities for that. We're currently looking at the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank. They've got a number of grants. I believe this grant was submitted the deadline looks like it's the 25th, so if it hasn't been submitted yet, it's going to be submitted this week, I believe. And then the Safer Streets for All grant program is another grant opportunity that we're waiting to come out. That's a federal grant. We're just waiting on this year of application deadlines to come out. Utilities, stormwater upgrades, especially storm drain rehab and piping, sewer upgrades, water pipe upgrades, electrical equipment, utility or system programs to help individuals with their bills for affordability, and water plant construction. So right now, we're currently looking for grant opportunities to meet all of those identified priorities. So that kind of sums up what our grant plan is for you, who we've met with, the priorities that have been identified to date. So now I'll open it up. If you all have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Does any member of council have a question?
Yes, I do have some questions.
Hold on for a minute.
Go ahead.
Actually, you start, you'll have your hand up then.
All right, I
and I'll
didn't
come to-
see. All
and
right,
I'll come to
fine.
Ms. Hudson.
Okay, yes, I just have a couple. What is your presentation is awesome. Your company is like a jack of all trades when it comes to grants. So I'm very impressed with your staff and their backgrounds and what they do and professionalism and everything. But I wanted to know if you could give us maybe a success ratio compared to your engagements in reference to grants.
Absolutely. So I tend to look at grants like I look at cases when, when I practice law. I don't like to take on a case I can't win, so I'm very honest when it comes to a client. I don't like to go after a grant if I don't think we have a very successful chance of obtaining that grant. One, it saves you money, but it also saves me time, and it messes with my ratio. So right now, I'm at an 80% success rate as far as application to award.
Awesome, awesome. Under economic development, is the historic preservation, is that in reference to the courthouse? Or what is that?
That's a good question.
Can you clarify what historic preservation?
I'm not exactly sure what project that sums up.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to check with Ms. Abernathy. I wasn't involved in a one-on-one department meetings with Ms. Shannon, but I will follow up with her on that one and see.
Okay.
I don't know if it was in reference to like our downtown historic district, but I'll clarify for you.
Okay, thank you. And one more, well, two more. Under your economic development, do we have an item or a focus, and I guess this really is a staff maybe question, in reference to, I don't want to say affordable housing gets people in a pickle, economical housing? Do we have a focus on that, Ms. Chris?
So that is in the forefront for staff, but we launched the grant program more of a pilot to kind of see some of those low-hanging fruit grant opportunities that we could achieve in hopes that council would support us, including funding in next year's budget so that we can go after some of those more substantial grants that address affordable housing. But right now, it was more so tailored towards our development and business retention.
Okay, you may need to stay there.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
A couple more questions. In reference to the fire department, the ambulance, new ambulance, can you give just a bit of information on that? That's exciting.
So that's the goal in speaking with Chief Robinson. Right now, the ambulance that the city owns has been inoperable for some time, and he will tell you that about 80% of our calls are emergency medical calls. With a city using Grady, as most of our surrounding cities use, sometimes there is an extensive wait time for them to arrive. And so it's the hope of staff that we could acquire a grant to purchase an ambulance. That way we can provide that additional service in elevated situations where we may be able to transport ourselves for a patient. Right now, I think, Chief, last time we talked, an ambulance is upwards of over $250,000, so we're hoping to acquire a grant to be able to replace the ambulance we currently have.
Okay, that's awesome, because that's well needed. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One additional adjunct to that answer, that grant will help us to secure a new vehicle, a new ambulance. The issues we've wrestled with over the last several years as it relates to service is still a separate work in progress, because the state guidelines as to who can provide ambulance service where is still a issue that we are advocating with to try to get better response time. In the meantime, we need a new ambulance vehicle. So that's what this grant will apply to as we continue to work towards a better service outcome, working with the state in the designated zones.
Okay, wonderful, that's exciting. I'm done. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Ms. Henson?
Yes, real quickly. What is the budget line amount assigned for this particular project?
So for FY '24, $30,000 was allocated towards our grant pilot program.
Okay, and how many applications were submitted?
So currently, I believe there are only 2 applications that have been submitted. We just started our engagement with.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase that.
Sorry.
How many applicants applied? I know,
For this?
for Ms. Chris, I know that you have been working for a while to get this off the ground. So did we have any applications from nonprofits for this?
I would have to follow up with our procurement manager. I do know that it went through an extensive RFP process, and we did have more than one vendor submit a proposal to provide grant writing services. The exact number I can get for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And what is the time frame of the pilot?
So it will continue through the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th of 2024, because it's just budgeted for FY '24.
Okay, and so I guess the other questions I have, because I heard you talk about low-hanging fruit, One of the things that I want to look very closely at is youth development, senior services, community engagement. I'm really proud to see all the efforts to go in our structural, but I like to see investment in people. And so it's very important that we looked at youth development, senior services, and community engagement. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback.
Yes.
Any other member of council have a question? Go ahead, Mr. Heath, go ahead.
There was something that came up when we got that ambulance last time. It seems like that with Grady having the contract, then if we haul those people to the hospital, then Grady still gets paid for that. Is that true?
Can you ask that question again, Council?
Yes, sir. Before, when we got this ambulance, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we were having a problem with the people that were providing the ambulance service getting here within a reasonable time, so we went out and got the ambulance. But then because Grady had the contract on it, even if we hauled the person to the hospital, Grady billed the people that we haul to the hospital for the ambulance call. Is that a true statement still?
At one time, they did do that, but now if they don't have any contact with the patient,
Okay.
they can't bill.
Okay. All right. And I was surprised when that took place, but true enough, they did have the contract. So that's, I just want to make sure we wasn't going to go through that same procedure again.
Right.
Thank you.
Any members of council on this side?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. I too appreciate the presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the grants that we're able to achieve. And I also agree that us going after the low-hanging fruit, one, as you get to know the city, and able to go after those things that are either easier to acquire or they have a short window for application. And so the only other thing I would say is I'd like to invite your team, if they are in the Washington, D.C. area, to participate and attend the National League of Cities Congressional City Summit that will be held in March. Many of the federal agencies, I won't say all of them, but many of them will be present at NLC, and what it is that we always talk about in our meetings with the federal agencies are grant opportunities. So I'd like to invite you to come and participate in that. And I'm specifically want you to explore or look at youth under Health and Human Services, education, as well as EPD, Environmental Protection Agencies. There are a lot of opportunities there, but those are short-lived opportunities, and we really do need to take advantage of those now, and that the Biden administration is doing everything they can to get those dollars out the door. So we need to go after those. And as we are in the midst, we can't provide anything if we don't have adequate piping and running water and roads and streets, and that's where the focus is. So let's go after those dollars. And then lastly, you talked about that in order for us to take advantage of various opportunities, we do have to have a plan and to have some things in a plan. And we're working on the Parks Master Plan now. We do have our comprehensive plan. But to the extent that housing needs to be lifted with a separate plan to discuss what those options and opportunities are, I would encourage us to do that, Ms. Chris and Mr. Phillips, to make sure that we have a plan for housing, because that is also an immediate focus with dollars that are available for that. and so go after those opportunities. But again, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. And again, we welcome this limited engagement, if you will. This is an opportunity for us to show you we're worth it. So we hope that with the limited engagement we have, we can bring in grants that then make you want to do a longer contract with us. So this is much of an job interview as it is anything else. So of course, I like to be successful at those as well. So I'm going to go out and get you some grants and show you that we're worth keeping us for the long haul, because most of our clients do. And we've been very successful for the clients we've assisted thus far. So I really appreciate your time this evening and allowing me to present. And if you have no other questions.
Well, I just have one other question, if I may, Mayor. Regarding the historic preservation, you said that there was a certification or certificate that we need. Is that from the state level or the federal level or both?
I believe it's from the state level. Yeah.
From the state level?
Correct.
Okay, so have you explored at the federal, and are we required to have it at the state before we can go after the federal?
So the state grants tend to have a little bit more hoops you got to jump through. They may want you to have a certain type of certification, while federal grants may not have that. But right now, you definitely need that one for state grants, and if you
Okay.
want to pursue those grants. But for federal grants, they don't tend to have that requirement for the most part. So
All right, so we can explore
Yes.
that simultaneously while we're
Absolutely.
working on the state? That
we've
would be
got the
great.
application. We're working with that department to give them the application so that you guys can apply and be certified, because otherwise it will restrict you from some other grant
Okay.
opportunities, and we don't want that.
And then, to the extent that, although the focus, say, may be on housing as an example, but included in housing is recreation.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, making sure that we are integrating all of those various needs
Definitely.
into the, okay.
And even with priorities you don't have listed, we've got a lot of Georgia clients, so if we come across a grant opportunity that we think is a good fit for Fairburn, we will definitely say, hey, you know, we found a youth grant that we thought would be really good. Is that something that you all are interested in pursuing? The other aspect is we want you to know what the strings are attached to these grants, because
Yes.
a lot of communities gets grants and they don't understand the strings that are attached and what's required. Some require match funding that you have to put up. Some have a really high barrier as far as regulatory compliance. And the worst thing about not getting a grant is getting it and losing it, okay? So we want to prevent that. And so we want to also make sure that the departments are educated about the grants that we assist them with writing, so that you have the full picture of what it means if and when you're awarded that grant. So.
Go ahead, Ms. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Councilwoman Hudson, just to answer your question, we received a total of 6 submissions for the grant writer RFP that the city put out. And Councilwoman Portis Jones, Planning and Zoning is currently undergoing they issued an RFP for a housing study. We received 8 submissions or proposals received for that, and so it's currently under evaluation. So staff is trying to get those plans in place to see where Fairburn is and where we need to go.
Okay, and another low-hanging fruit grant opportunity is regarding literacy and the opportunities there. So if you can explore those and see what the opportunities are.
Okay.
Just one
Could
follow.
all
You done?
I'm gonna come back to you.
Thank you.
You had a comment on that?
So you can see from Ms. Shannon's presentation, while we're excited about our partnership with iParametrics, but she's very accurate in that this is a pilot program, which is why we're going after low-hanging fruit first. We want to make sure that we're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for us. I'm very optimistic that that will be the case. And if so, if we're funded for the next fiscal year, it will allow us to do a deep dive on the plan you talked about, Councilwoman Portis Jones, that will be more extensive. We started by having them sit down with all of our department directors to find that low-hanging fruit, the things that we could get, we felt, between now and the end of the fiscal year, and allow them to show us their value. And hopefully, if that works, then next year, we will have a fully fleshed out, plan that hits all of the areas that we feel are key and essential to the city, and develops a strategy about how we will go about acquiring those grants. They have a lot of experience with this, so we think this is going to be a great opportunity for us to hopefully develop a longer-term partnership as we move forward.
Okay, Ms. Hudson, go ahead. You had a follow-up question?
Yes, just for tracking purposes, will a report be provided to council of the progress, what's being applied for? Doesn't always have to come up at council. If we can put our eyes on it, I'm fine. Very familiar with the grant writing process, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And the second part to your question, we did not have any nonprofits apply or respond to the RFP.
Thank you.
And can I ask a question, Ms. Hudson? Ms. Hudson asked a question that I need some clarification on. First of all, Ms. Hudson, great question as it relates to public engagement. Can you give me the grant that falls within that category and kind of give me an idea what that looks like?
As far as which, I'm sorry?
Community engagement.
Community engagement.
So like a community engagement grant, there may be funding out there for you to do, well, it needs to be around a targeted subject, right? So you want to engage the community for what?
You can have youth development,
Right,
you
so
can
if you
have
want-
senior, you can have health and wellness.
Gotcha.
Civic engagement, those things like
I
that.
was going to say, so if it's civic engagement, if it's voting, right? If you want to do something with seniors to increase, health outcomes, you can do something with that, right?
Homelessness.
Homelessness, absolutely. So there's a plethora of different community engagement grants out there. We just don't have any right now targeted because of the limited engagement.
Yes, ma'am.
But once we open that up, or if I see something that comes across that I think this would be a really good fit for, especially senior services right now. A lot of our clients are looking for senior services. So that's already on our radar. We search the grant landscape weekly for any and all grants. And when we identify a grant that we think will fit all of our clients, we will say, hey, I know this isn't on your list, but take a look at it. This is what the requirements are. And to answer your question, we do a monthly update report so that you see where we are in the things, grants that have been submitted, grants we've heard back from that we didn't get funded, grants we have gotten funded, grants in the pipeline, things that are coming out during the rest of the year, so that you have the big picture.
Okay, thank you.
I had one other question. The U.S. Conference of Mayors were talking about the infrastructure bill, I guess in this case.
Yes, the
federal.
bipartisan infrastructure.
And so my real question was going to be, I know the U.S. Conference of Mayors are talking about what does it take to go get it. My real question to you is going to be, looking at the area, I guess, that we're in, that's a lot of states and a lot of cities asking for the base level
Competition,
for
right?
a point. And I guess my realistic point is looking at, I know this is a pilot, what's the realistic percentage of chance of us getting substantial money from that, being that everybody and their mother, excuse me.
No, you're absolutely right. It is extremely competitive. But overall, I think you all have identified really good projects to put forward. The money has to go to somebody, right? And so
Yes.
it's up to us to tell a very compelling story. Why not you? Why not your community, right? If you all can do really good things with this money, the competition is stiff, and I'm glad you acknowledge that, and we acknowledge that too, which is another reason why I only like to write grants and I'm gonna win. So if it's a really good, robust project where everything's been thought through and it's been planned, those are the type of projects that you want to put forward for some of that federal money. The state competition's a little less than the federal competition is, especially with the bipartisan infrastructure. And a lot of people are applying right now because we don't know what the political landscape will look at the federal level in the next year or so, and what grant opportunities may or may not come or disappear as it relates to that. So the competition is stiff. But again, I like competition. I think I'm pretty good at what I do, so.
Okay, thank you
That's
so
why I
much.
invite you to NLC Congressional City Summit next March.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for.
Well, no
your-
problem. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
All right, Ms. Ray, can we go to our next presentation?
Number 2 is the proposed fire ordinance revisions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Well, today we have a presentation to go over a proposed fire ordinance revision. And tonight I brought my fire marshal with me to go over the presentation. He's more of my subject matter expert in a lot of the stuff that we're asking for, to more enhance our fire protection in the city and fire safety for our citizens.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor and council, thanks for having a few minutes of your time this evening to go over Chapter 29, which is our fire prevention ordinance, and Article 1 under fire prevention. Obviously, from time to time, and the purpose of our fire prevention ordinance is to help prevent, obviously, public fire and other hazards to people here in the city and buildings. We adopt, of course, the state of Georgia minimum standards, and most cities further enhance those with ordinances of their own to go above and beyond the minimum, usually unique to their community in terms of additional things. Usually, from time to time, code updates are required every few years to keep pace of industry standards and industry best practices. The number one thing here is to prevent the loss of life as well as property. The property is the backbone of our tax base. Substantial fire knocking out, large portions of our tax base could be obviously detrimental to a community such as Fairburn. So again, looking at the best practices, industry standards, from time to time we need to enhance and further give strengthening to our current ordinances on the book. So this ordinance right here, automatic sprinkler systems, we currently have section 29-7 as an adopted ordinance for the sprinkler mandate. It's one of the more robust sprinkler ordinances in the Metro Atlanta community. We need to add a further subsection to that, this subsection E, to include this verbiage of existing buildings. And what this means is typically when older structures, and we have a lot of, obviously we talked about the historic nature, but just older buildings that were built prior to current codes in the last 20 years, we have a lot of buildings that need to be sprinkled, need fire alarms that weren't required 20 plus years ago. So as a building comes up for substantial remodeling, and what we call substantial is usually defined in the industry standard as anything over 50% of the tax success value. When they're doing a remodel that exceeds that threshold, then they have to bring the building up to current code. And this will close that gap, require these buildings that are going through substantial remodels, rebuilds, to bring the building to current code, which would cover now having a sprinkler system. The sprinkler system is the gold standard in fire and life safety protection. Having a robust fire sprinkler ordinance like we do here in the city of Fairburn, again, we don't pull dead bodies out of a sprinkled building. And I say that bluntly, but there's truth to that. Currently, we don't have an ordinance for hydrants. Again, this is the ammunition we need to fight our fire. That vital fluid that comes out of these hydrants, we need to protect that infrastructure that our utility department has. Obviously, it's our drinking water source, but it is our fire protection source to keep our ISO rating low, to keep the ability to fight fire in the city. And this would be a new ordinance proposal. First of all, obstruction of fire hydrants is common. This is a common ordinance that a lot of cities have. I'm not reinventing the wheel and creating things just for the purposes of Fairburn. This is ordinances that work in other communities, whether I've worked for, again, or what's the industry standards. And this is just to prevent our hydrants, whether public or private, from being obstructed, obscured, and hard to find in our time of need when we need to find them. This prevents people from growing shrubbery, bushes, or putting structures up to block hydrants that they perceive are on their property, which are actually in the right-of-way. And furthermore, a distinguishment between private hydrants, which we don't have right now. We can go down the roads in several of our industrial or commercial areas, and there's a true delineation between a public hydrant and a private hydrant. But right now, all of the hydrants in the city of Fairburn are painted silver. So there's no real delineation. This would require the maintenance program for the companies, which most companies do in terms of businesses and stuff that have private hydrants on their property, such as Duracell off of Bohannon Road. They've got some 40 hydrants around their property. If you look at them at a naked eye, you don't know which one's private, which one's public, other than where the vault lies. Everything on their side of the vault is theirs. Everything on this side is public. So this would make an identifiable factor, or the ordinance would require them to be painting these hydrants a different color than silver, which we identify as safety yellow. And as you see here in this next slide, this is what a public hydrant looks like on the left there, or excuse me, your right, which would be the silver one, and a private hydrant would be yellow. Again, this is what a lot of communities do. The tops we get asked about a lot. That's the NFPA color coding standard, whereas us as firefighters or fire officers, we immediately pull up and see blue. Blue means 1,500 gallons per minute or better. And you can see the rest on that chart there. That gives us a quick delineation. Do we have enough water out of this single hydrant, or do we need to hit substantial other water sources, or have a backup plan in terms of our water availability from blue being best to green to orange to red? And again, a couple other little trivial things in there had to do with the private hydrants, is maintaining that they're responsible to fix their hydrants when they go down in a timely manner. We can't have, You know, these large corporations have a broken hydrant and they sit on it for 6 to 7 to 8 months. They have industry standard, usually 30 to 45 days to get the necessary parts in and repair those hydrants. But without having it in an ordinance and codified, we don't have backbone to enforce that. The second one is the third one here is third-party reporting of fire protection systems. And this has been a big push in the last 10 to 15 years, especially here in Georgia. And as I said before, maintaining and reporting of those safety systems in these warehouses and these businesses and stuff we have all around our city, these systems, the sprinklers, the alarms, the fire pumps, the fire extinguishers, and all the systems listed here is the backbone of fire protection for these 900 to 1 million, 100,000 square foot facilities we have here. If there is a catastrophic fire, we don't have the resources in all of South Fulton County to put out a major fire. Where a fire is going to be controlled, where we can get in and make an effective life rescue and save the property, is if these systems are doing their job as they're intended to do. But there's a lot of man hours required from an inspector and myself as the fire marshal. When we go inspect a 500,000 square foot, a 900,000 square foot facility, we're tracking down paperwork from a manager. It could take days to weeks to just ungodly amounts of times at time, where the industry standard now is these vendors who go perform this work uploads this paperwork into a portal that the fire department in these cities have free access to. It doesn't cost the cities a dime. And again, it's like having a free employee on staff, a free clerical employee, to keep track of this paperwork. Every morning, new reports are uploaded for your jurisdiction, and you can see what buildings in your jurisdiction are compliant and which ones are not. There's letters that are on our letterhead that go out, like it would come from my office, the fire marshal's office, to go out to these businesses if they're not in compliance, reminding them they need to be in compliance or risk potential fines. And again, we're here to work with them. We're not looking to charge them or cite them, but looking that sometimes people just need gentle reminders as management staff changes. But this third-party reporting protection system, there's a couple of companies out there that do this. I've been using companies, my prior employers, for over 10 years, and it's a game changer for our industry. It's like having a free employee. It doesn't cost the city a dime. Where they make their money is they roll the cost into an administrative fee when they submit these reports to their clients of $15 to $20 a report per system. So it's nothing earth-shattering, but again, it really improves the efficiency of the fire marshal's office when we're out doing our inspections. Again, these are just the systems. The Compliance Engine is probably the biggest company in the metro Atlanta area with third-party reporting. There's some 40-plus departments in the metro Atlanta area that use the Compliance Engine surrounding jurisdictions like College Park, Fayette County, Coweta County, City of Fayetteville. They're the surrounding agencies that I know, Peachtree City, several Norfolk departments as well, Sandy Springs, Roswell, Milton. They all use this company called the Compliance Engine. And again, those are the systems that it's tracking for us. It's not replacing our inspection, but it's eliminating me tracking down that paperwork when I show up and the manager's not knowing where it's are, or the property owner's not knowing where that is. This next one is a very important one in terms of quality of life issues, our multifamily rental housing. We don't have currently a multifamily rent. We have currently 11 apartment complexes here in the city of Fairburn. Most of those are sprinkled. However, there's some older ones that aren't sprinkled, and we have fires in them. As we did in late November, it was a classic kitchen fire. But if we had this housing ordinance in place, we could have limited the damage just to the stovetop. Talking with that resident that evening during my investigation, it was revealed classic cooking conditions. They left it on, they forgot about it. It burst into flames. By the time it was noticed, it was already licking the cabinets. But she attempted to fight the fire, given her best abilities. All these apartment complexes are required to have extinguishers on the exterior of the building, but nobody thinks about those. What we want to do is put those extinguishers inside every apartment unit that is non-sprinkled. So again, the sprinkled buildings, they don't have to, but the non-sprinkled ones, these folks have to have a way to put out small fires, and they're not gonna think about the one hanging on the outside of the building. Like this lady said, I didn't even know it was there, and she's lived there over a year. But the other thing is a fire suppression system that hangs in, Chief, if you wanna hand them those, I appreciate that. These simple canisters hang up in the hood vents of a stove. And these, again, for non-sprinkled. And this is just an example. It's a simple magnetic device that hangs up in the stovetop that's designed to extinguish fires. Very nominal cost, but we would require the property to install these in every apartment. I would encourage you guys to install them in your homes. But that was the fire suppression system. But again, most fires, as we see here statistically, start in the kitchen. And residential settings. That same ordinance, we have a current short-term rental housing ordinance, section 14-366. I would like to add the verbiage as well for our short-term rental properties for fire protection, would be to add these canisters in the stove hood tops as well for our short-term rental properties. Again, it's not a new ordinance, it's just additional language in our current ordinance, section 14-366. And again, those devices, what we want to be proactive in terms of fire and life safety. And these statistics here sum it up. Half of our house fires in America today start because of cooking or in the kitchen. 1 in 120 apartments units will have a substantial kitchen fire that, again, this is where the majority of our injuries and our fire fatalities come from. That little device up there is a game changer in terms of fire prevention. You don't have to do anything. They're basically that little fuse there. Once the flames start licking the underside from a grease fire, that will automatically deploy and extinguish the fire just like that. Can you hit that blue icon? Is there a way? Because that shows a 45-second clip on just that demonstration on that. And I guess it's not. Oh, there it is. And again, even with no I can narrate.
24-hour protection, plus the peace of mind from knowing your property and those inside are safe. It only takes a second for a grease fire to ignite, and each year hundreds of people are hurt while trying to fight these fires themselves. Auto Out helps prevent unnecessary injuries and property damage in one easy step.
That is awesome.
Auto Out canisters magnetically mount to the underside of any vent hood without the need for tools. Each unit protects 2 burners and works in a variety of vent hood and stovetop configurations. And since they don't require batteries, they're completely maintenance-free. Here's how it works. When flames reach the bottom of the Auto Out canister, the unit automatically opens to release a safe, non-toxic powder, which smothers the fire in the pan. This powder can easily be cleaned up using only wet towels, and because Auto Out is activated by flame instead of heat or smoke, it won't accidentally discharge under normal cooking conditions. This proven technology has already been used to extinguish thousands of actual fires. Each unit has a 6-year service life and is made right here in the USA. So if you'd like to learn more about how Auto Out can protect you, your residents, and your investment
So as you see, simple devices, very minimal setup in regards to setting those up. And again, Chief, I know Mr. Phillips just asked, roughly the cost on those for a set of 2 is about $60 or less. And again, they last 6 years. So when we institute an ordinance like this, we give the apartment communities 2 years to comply to this ordinance, to work it into their budgets. We're not trying to drop it on them immediately and make it a mandate. We usually give 24 months. In my past, when I've done ordinances like this for other communities, where I came from in Sandy Springs, we had 99 apartment complexes. We had 26,000 units, and we saw an overnight success in terms of, after the 2-year period we gave to implement these, a significant drop in the apartment fires. So there's proof in the pudding of these types of proactive ordinances really do their jobs, and quality of life issues, saving lives, saving property is key. And that's my presentation this evening, Council and Mayor, if anybody has any questions.
I'll go to Ms. Davis. Does anybody else have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
After Ms. Davis, I'll come to Ms. Forrest-Jones. Anybody else after that?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yes, what if you don't have a hood?
Okay, so
Or
if
you
you
have a
microwave,
downspout? No, your oven, your countertop. It's like a downspout, I don't know what.
Oh, it's a downdraft?
A downdraft, yeah,
Okay,
what if you
there-
don't have a hood? I don't have a hood.
Yeah, so there's, I'm not an expert on that technology, but there's other technology that's available for that. You know, so two ways of fighting that type of fire is to rapidly cool it, like you simply putting a pan lid over it, or is shutting that heat source off, the eye or the gas. And there are shunting systems that if a fire is detected like that, it will shut the gas off or shut the electricity off. And then there's a different type of device, because those are rare, the downdraft type that you're describing, but they make a special fire system for downdraft.
Okay.
So, but typically we don't find those in multifamily housing. That's typically an upgraded system. The ones we have seen those in, they're in newer apartments, and they're fully sprinkled. So again, a fully sprinkled one would not require this.
I'm talking about like a personal home, an
Personal
individual home,
exactly.
yes. 'cause-
They make other devices for downdraft type. I don't have an example of that because they're not very common.
Well, I will
I
talk
can
to
do
you
some research.
offline. Yes,
I can get you that information.
thank you.
Yes, that was the question I was going to have as well. Especially, you said this ordinance will also regulate short-term rentals.
Yes.
Okay, so many of those are private homes that may have the downdrafts. So, need an alternative for that.
So when, just a caveat on that, that when we do, so I have to do an inspection of any short-term rental property. So if we found that, we would give them alternatives to that as well. And again, I'll supply that to you, Ms. Davis, and to you, Ms. Jones. But we would identify that. My office is required to do a fire safety inspection before they're permitted to use any property as a short-term rental in the city, as per our current established ordinances.
That's correct. And how often do you inspect those?
Annually.
Annually?
Yes.
Okay. And then secondly, based on that demonstration, do you need one of these per burner?
So it's one per two burners.
One per two burners?
Two burners.
Okay, so it will affect the front and rear burner, or the two front and the two rear?
It'll affect the left side and the right side, yeah,
Okay.
in conjunction. They're it's hung right up in the middle typically. And then they make another one. I've got the sample product. This company sent me these sample products. If you have a microwave, some people have a microwave hood vent over theirs, and there's a bracket for installation that they would be installed first before just this magnetic one on most apartment ones we find in a typical multifamily unit.
Okay, and then how do we define multifamily? Could a duplex be considered a multifamily?
It's so typically 3 or more.
3 or more?
Yes, ma'am.
3 or more, okay. So this would be great for just single families, especially our seniors.
Yes.
But that's cost prohibitive. 2
grant
for 60, yes, okay.
Grant, yes.
You're reading my mind. You got me? You got me?
Awesome.
Yes, exactly. And AARP will be a good partner for a project like this, to do it. And then, so that would be great. A program for our seniors, but single families, period, throughout the community. So that would be a great community program, and we can find grant dollars for that, and then I'll keep my eyes out for that as well. And then the question about multifamily, and then the drought, vent hood. Yeah, I'm just trying to go through my questions. All right, well, thank you. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, one other question. So I've seen advertised the fire blanket. Have you
Yes.
seen those?
Yes.
Okay, are those effective, and is that an alternative?
It is an alternative. I haven't done, I've seen it recently. They've been kind of coming out on the market. I need to do a little bit further research to see if they're listed, which I believe they are, in terms of they've gone through rigorous testing through like UL and things of that nature. But in principle and theory, as a fire professional expert, yes, it's doing the concept of extinguishing and eliminating the oxygen source. It's like taking, again, the number one way of putting out a grease fire, if you're gonna fight it at home without a fire extinguisher, is to simply cover the pot with a lid and shut off the heat source, and the fire will go out. So covering it with a blanket is like covering it with a lid. What you run risk of is pulling that pan or pot down on the floor with a blanket, and that could spill that flaming contents and spill it on the floor. That's why we prefer just having the pot ready, the lid ready for that pot or pan. Even if you don't need it, it's already on the counter. If it ever breaks out you can simply cover it and turn off the heat, and the fire will go out.
Okay. And then your recommendation for fire hydrant on the floor outside of an apartment complex versus out?
A fire extinguisher?
Fire extinguisher. Okay, so research has shown that most people don't know how to use a fire extinguisher, right? And so the fact that it's there and people don't know how to use it, I think that negates the purpose. So what can we do to kind of assist the apartment home owners and the tenants of the apartments in if their fire extinguishers there, how to
We have a
use it?
plan in place that I would like to get rolling as early as this spring. I've just hired a deputy fire marshal this last couple of weeks, who's also an educator as I am, and we're going to be doing, we have a fire extinguisher simulator that Chief had purchased a couple of years ago, I think through a grant that we've got, that we're going to be canvassing our multifamily housing developments and offering this class for free, whether it be on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, where we can invite residents, teach them about fire extinguisher safety, how to use a fire extinguisher on our simulator, and again, just bring general awareness about the extinguishers that they have on their property. But this is something that my office, at the fire marshal's office, and the chief has been supporting for a while, even before I got here, is these public education campaigns that, again, we like to target the spring and the fall, where we can do these, especially to our multifamily housing ordinances, or excuse me, our multifamily housing complexes, where we can offer this education program.
And we'll be going to them, right?
We will go to them and
Okay.
offer this class.
Okay, fantastic. And then,
Go ahead, finish up
okay,
if I need it.
lastly, I just want to, fire hydrants. Recent experience where fire hydrants were inoperable. So first of all, who's responsible for maintaining and double checking and triple checking, and how frequently do we do that those hydrants are operable throughout the entire city, right? Because we never know when we are going to need a fire hydrant. Who's responsible for it? How frequently are they to maintain those? And what is it that we need to do as a city to beef up that? Because I've gotten complaints, recent complaints, about inoperable fire hydrants.
So before I let the fire marshal.
I'll let you speak.
Jump in first. We
Address this.
recognized that issue some time ago. That's a legacy issue we inherited. And so we've put a plan in place where that no longer is the case. But I'll defer and let the fire marshal kind of detail that.
So we've had these meetings, the city administrator, as he said, we have an annual inspection program that we, the fire department, conduct in terms of getting out and doing basic maintenance that we see that they work in that moment in time. But those are very finicky devices that we could check it today, and a month later, 2 months down the road, this cold snap we're in, those mechanical pieces are just what they are. They're mechanical pieces that can break. Turning it on and off puts a little bit of stress on the system. Even when basic maintenance is being done or completed, valve stems can freeze, valve stems can break. So again, it could work today, and we have a documented records where we've provided to the city administrator how we check these hydrants on an annual basis. But again, it's a snapshot in time. But again, as well with our utility department, our water department, they're responsible for the basic, when we identify an issue or they find issues, they fix those issues.
That plan literally is a physical inspection of every hydrant in the city. So I want to be very clear. So it is comprehensive. It is done annually throughout the year. They literally have a list that's assigned to various crews throughout the city, and they go out and literally check every single hydrant annually. Now, Fire Marshal makes a very good point. That is a necessary thing, and we're doing it consistently now. But to his point, you can check it today. You have 3 consecutive days of sub-freezing temperature, and there's a fire on the 4th day, and you go out there and a pipe is burst. The stem is stuck. And so it's not a perfect system, but we're doing everything proactively we can do to ensure that they work regularly.
And that is the industry standard. That's what you'll see in surrounding communities. I don't know, I can't speak for them, but this is what the industry standard is. The fire crews go out annually, and we physically put our hands on every fire hydrant. We turn them on to make sure that there's water present, and the water runs, and then it shuts off and drains like it's supposed to. We typically grease the caps with some kind of grease. If they need painted or updated painting, we do that periodically at that time as well. But we physically turn those hydrants on, every single one we come in contact with. As we add more growth, new hydrants are coming into the system and added to the system. We also add those on an annual basis.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Chief, for your, members of council, can I ask those members, look at item number 12 through 15, and I need to know if any member of council has an objection for that, any of those 4 items to go on a consent agenda.
So are we done with the?
Are we done?
Yeah, yes, I'm through.
Okay.
I'm through. I'm trying to do that, so I want to get this
Before
clear
we-
before I get the meeting going. Yes, ma'am. I was trying to, does anyone have an objection? Mr. City Attorney, you had an item that I need to add.
Yes.
I do.
Lester's gonna speak to that.
I have some questions.
It's a grant.
Okay.
That is due on the 25th. That's why it's an emergency. Under the rules, it's allowed as such if you.
That'll be
Oh, no, yeah, I have,
number 16. What's the name of the item will be?
The item is,
Does anyone have a question about any of the 4 items? If he has a question, we'll leave them
Say
on.
that again.
14, I have one.
I have a question for 14.
I do too.
Okay, we'll leave 14. We'll leave 14 on. Thank you. So, no one has objection to item 12, 13, or 15. And now, item 14 will stay on it. But, Mr. City Attorney,
it's a resolution authorizing the city of Fairburn to submit to the Georgia Department of Transportation Infrastructure grant application. Its deadline is the 25th of January, I guess. When was it, 25th? Thursday?
yeah, I'm trying to make sure, it's a resolution to submit this to the state of Georgia.
It's right there, the title.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
And it was not on the regular agenda. And
Yes.
the only way it can get on the agenda is you add it. by
Correct,
vote.
right. I wanted to do that before we get going. Okay, gotcha. So in this case, members of council, we've actually, so now we're clear. We have 3 items that will be moved to consent, and item 14 will remain. And then we have 1 item 16 that'll be added. So at this time, I'll get ready and bring our council meeting. Members of the public, if you will, I see a lot of people came in. Would you please take time to turn your cell phone to the silent position? Please. Ms. Ray, do we have any public comment speakers?
We do. We have one.
You have one? Okay, no, okay,
Need to,
all right, 1 speaker. Okay, so
we
at
need to
this,
take roll and.
I am, I'm
call the meeting.
getting ready to actually start in 1 second.
One point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
Per the zoning director, item 12 is not on the consent agenda.
Okay, so item 12,
Item 12 is not on the.
okay, gotcha. Okay. Number 12. Okay, let's stay. Gotcha. Okay, members of council, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. If you will, Ms. Ray, would you go ahead and call the city council roll, please?
The Honorable Mayor Pro Tem James Whitmore.
Present.
The Honorable Linda J. Davis.
Present.
The Honorable Alex Heath.
Present.
The Honorable Samantha Hudson.
Present.
The Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
And the Honorable Ulysses J. Smallwood.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Would you please, Pastor Darius Cota from First Baptist Church of Fairburn, would you please come forward? Everyone can, please stand. Yes, sir, go ahead, thank you.
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for your many blessings to us, our city of Fairburn. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you, Lord, for what you're going to continue to do. And Lord, I pray for Mayor Avery, for City Council, for all of our officials. Lord, just grant them wisdom for the key decision. Grant them justice and confidence in what you have called them to do. Lord, give them the ability to work together in harmony for the betterment of our city. Lord, and I do thank you for our police, for our firemen. Lord, I beg you that you continue taking care of them as they put their life on the line for each one of us. We love you, we thank you, and we ask you this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I have a presentation. I'm going to ask all members of council, if you will, to please join me on the floor. Yeah, because what's going to happen, I can stand up right over here. I can stand here. So what's going to happen? One of your brothers was a former mayor, Arthur, former mayor, right? Somebody mentioned that. Oh, okay. That's what I was told. So I'm like, and so, gotcha. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to give honors due the passing of Mayor Betty Hanna, the longest-serving mayor in this city. And so, what I wanted to do, and I asked members of council to join me because in our efforts to give honors due, I wanted to first start off with we have a proclamation from the city of Fairburn that actually has an imprint with her picture in it. I don't know if you can see that. But before we start with the city council's proclamation, we wanted to start with make sure I say it correctly. In this case, it's called from Senator Warnock. In this case, so if you can take a picture of that, I guess you can see that on the camera. So that's from Senator Warnock. He wanted to give honors due to the longest-serving mayor of the city. I'm just going to read it, and it says, "Friends, please accept my sincere and heartfelt condolences regarding the loss of former Fairburn Betty Hanna. As both the first woman to hold this post and the longest-serving mayor in the city of Fairburn's history, Mayor Hanna left a mark in the city of Fairburn. I want to join her family, friends, and the city of Fairburn as we pray together and grieve the loss of a pillar in this community and to celebrate her life and countless contributions. A devoted public servant and trailblazing leader, Mayor Hanna leaves behind a remarkable legacy, and I thank her for her dedication for the betterment of the city of Fairburn as a whole. Her memory will live on through all that she knew and all that she did to touch every life of the city of Fairburn. Scripture reminds us in this book of Lamentations 3:32, though he brings grief, he will show compassion. So great is his unfailing love. It is my hope that the city of Fairburn community holds this promise of God's love close to their hearts as they come together to grieve Betty Hanna's loss. May you feel the power of community and the hope that only faith can bring during this time. Please know that each of you has a champion, me, as your senator, and do not hesitate to reach out to me as any member of the Hannah family. So again, just want to say this is from Senator Warnock's office, and he wanted to give honor where honor is due. And so I'll let you just sit there real quick. And what you guys will see outside, you see the fire and police department with lights flashing right now. Betty Hannah was actually responsible for the Fairburn Fire Department getting started in the city of Fairburn. And so I want, coincidentally, the two men that are in charge of public safety in this case, both chiefs, the police chief and the fire chief, which is to your rear right here, these two men were hired by Betty Hannah 17 years ago on the same day. And so at this time, I'm allowed. And so at this time, I'm actually going to read the city council proclamation in this case as we dedicate this to the city of Fairburn, as well as giving honor what honors due. Again, the flashing lights, well, I don't know if the cameras caught those lights flashing outdoors, but we did it a little earlier. Ms. Jones was like, what's going on? So what I'd like to do right now is read this proclamation. The city of Fairburn remembers the Honorable Betty Webb Hannah. The city of Fairburn acknowledges the passing of a remarkable leader, the Honorable Betty Webb Hannah, who departed from our midst on Saturday, January 6, 2024. Mayor Hannah made history as the first female mayor of the city of Fairburn, elected in 1987, and the first female mayor in South Fulton, and served with dedication and distinction until 2009. Whereas Mayor Hannah's enduring commitment to the preservation of Fairburn's rich history and her hard, forward-looking vision for growth and development have left an indelible mark for our community. Whereas under the banner of History Lives Here, Mayor Hannah revitalized Fairburn's downtown area, recognizing its historical significance as the city's original transportation district, banking community, and its close ties to CSX Railroad. Mayor Hannah was a trailblazer in understanding the city's unique position and advocated for the modern multi-modal transportation system that ties Fairburn to the rest of the world. Mayor Hannah's tenure saw significant investment in infrastructure, including the successful implementation of a $10 million education campus project, a testament to her foresight and the commitment to education funded by the Development Authority and the city of Fairburn. This education campus, which later housed the Georgia Military College and Brown University, stands as a lasting legacy, symbolizing Mayor Hannah's belief in transformative power and education of all citizens of the city of Fairburn. Mayor Hannah's leadership transformed the city of Fairburn into a beacon of industry, sustained growth and development, all while preserving its historic character. Mayor Hannah served as an admired role model, imparting wisdom and values as a Sunday school teacher, leaving a lasting impact on spiritual well-being of our community. Her life was marked by a profound dedication to her family, her community, and her church. Mayor Hannah's life was marked by a profound dedication to her family, community, as well as future generations of the city of Fairburn. Therefore, our Mario B. that the city of Fairburn mourns the passing of the Honorable Betty Webb Hannah, expresses its deep condolences to her family, and recognizes the enduring impact she has made on our beloved city. Our Mario B. Avery, the mayor of the city of Fairburn, along with the Mayor Pro Tem James Whitmore, City Council members Linda J. Davis, Alex Heath, Samantha Hudson, Hattie Portis-Jones, and Ulysses Smallwood do hereby proclaim the 12th day of January as Mayor Betty Webb Hannah Day. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, would any one of you or a family member like to say anything else? Yes, you did. Yes, sir. With that being said, well, thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You under the weather, sir?
I was laid up for a couple of days.
Kind of warm in here.
Let me open one of these. It'll make a lot of noise.
When it hits, it hits. I think she wrote it where I can do it. I'm gonna explain it publicly so they understand what we're doing. Members of council, before we go to the next item, just so as a point of clarity, so you understand what's happening. The items that we're looking at are item number 3 through through 8. Those items, because the public hearing technically is still open, I will only ask for a motion to close the public hearing and then have comments or whatever as it relates to council before you take a vote on it. I just want to make it as a point of clarity so you'd understand why I'm not asking for a motion to open the public hearing. It is technically open.
We need to adopt the agenda as well as
Yes.
approve the minutes before.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to make sure everyone understands why we're doing something a little different than we normally do.
Okay.
So in this case, we're finished with presentations. At this time, can I entertain a motion to adopt the city council agenda with items 13 and 15 being on consent agenda, as well as adding item number 16, which will be a resolution authorizing the city of Fairburn to submit the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank funding application request for 2024 for the Duncan Park roadway project and for other related purposes. Can I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Smallwood, second by Mr. Heath. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, Ms. City Clerk, we'll go to public comment. At this time, 30 minutes will be allocated for public comment. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. However, a speaker may transfer his or her 3 minutes to another speaker, but no speaker shall be permitted to speak for more than 6 minutes. You said, at this time, I think we have one speaker?
Yes, sir. We have Saray Freeman.
Okay, go ahead. Ms. Ray, come on up. And all answers will be referred to the general city manager's office, and you'll get an answer of your request later.
Good evening, council.
Yes, ma'am.
Evening.
I'd like to give honor to Betty Hannah. She hired me, and she was a dear friend, and we'll miss her so. God rest her soul. I am standing before you today in regards to some of the things that I had mentioned previously about paymentus. It's costing more, and you're basically getting less. You can't view your bill, can't schedule payments. It's a disappointment. With the trash, it's a little too early, but on my block, I see a lot of people struggling. You're struggling with one cart, providing 2 services, recycling and trash. And one of the things that we loved, and we're paying more, and we're getting less. So we just need to find out what's going on with the trash service. So far, it's only been a week, but people are dumping trash throughout the city. And I noticed it last night when I was coming home. Somebody had like 5 things, just big bags and furniture on Malone. right at the corner. So something needs to be looked into. Also, I have water concerns. We live in an environment where we have Dow Chemical, Dow Corning Chemical, Duracell, just like the fire marshal mentioned. There are a lot of industrial complexes in Fairburn. And I'm concerned about the soil, I'm concerned about the water. And I'm hoping, and I know it's tested when there's an issue, but is it tested throughout the year? Are they living up to what they're supposed to be doing for our community? Are they giving what they should be to our community? And the next thing is Fulton County 911. I miss Fairburn having their 911. I've been here over 25 years, and I remember my son got glue in his head and hands stuck to his head. He was 3 years old. And before I hung up the phone, they were knocking on my door. Now the response time is 25 to 35 minutes. That's a lifetime for somebody who's experiencing an emergency. With that, I rest. Yield back to council.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to entertain, you have before you, members of council, the approval of the city council meeting minutes that commenced on January 8th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Hudson and second by Mr. Smallwood. Any corrections or issues? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this point, because I'm now I'm at the public hearing portion, that the public hearing is technically open, and so I'm kind of following this guideline to make sure that it is done by the book. So you have, members of council, you have item, let's make sure, the text amendment for the home occupation. You want to go ahead, in this case, Mr. City Attorney, just to make sure that I do this a little different because it's already open. Should I allow the department head to come up and at least mention?
You have her come up.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hello again.
Hello.
So the first item is related to home occupation. We just wanted to tighten up that area in terms of making sure that things that are could create a public nuisance, such as business operating with toxic materials, would not be allowed, along with some other types of businesses. These were what other communities had already updated their ordinance to reflect, so we are just using sort of industry standards with that. Any questions? Not, then now.
I was going to bring the item to the floor for a vote, and then that's a section where I'll ask the council if they have a question. Okay. At this point, I will now entertain a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Smallwood and second by Ms. Hudson. Any questions or comments by council? Well, excuse me, at this point. I can close the item and then ask the council for a vote. Gotcha, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries, and we've now closed the public hearing. You have the item before you. Members of council, you have before you a resolution for the mayor to approve an ordinance to amend the chapter 80 of the home occupational 80-138 home occupation of the Fairburn zoning ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments by council on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Number 3 is a text amendment for the Little Free Library. This is a request from mayor and council to approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 80 zoning, Article 4, administrative permits and use permits, Section 80-240, in order to allow for little free libraries to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and to provide an effective date and for other purposes.
Once again, members of council, this public hearing is continued from the previous meeting, so I would now like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second by Ms. Portis Jones. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, I'd now like to entertain a motion for a vote. Give me 1 second to make sure I'm reading it correctly. Members of, in this case, the item has already been read. Members of council, you have before you the item number 3, a text amendment that was read by the Assistant City Clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second. Any questions or comments by council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Number 4, text amendment for short-term rental. The request, mayor and council approval of an ordinance to Chapter 14 on business regulation and taxation, Article 8, short-term rental, Section 14-363, definitions, Section 14-365, business license and tax, permit and transferability, and Section 14-366, standard operational requirements and conditions.
Thank you. Members of the council, the public hearing is continued from the previous meeting. I would like to entertain a motion and a second to close the public comment, public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made and second by Mr. Heath. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for a vote.
Mayor? Due to protocol and stated conflict of interest, I must recuse myself
Which
from
item?
voting on the short-term rental.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, understood. Okay, so you have before you the item number 4 that was read by the city clerk for short-term rental. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Heath and second by Ms. Davis. Any questions or comments? On short-term rental? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
Number 5 is the text amendment for mobile and modular structures. This is a request from mayor and council to approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 38, Article 2, Section 38-19, definitions, Section 38-20, placement and installation unlawful, Section 38-21, consideration and placement, Section 38-22, exception be amended, and that Section 38-23, installation subject to building, electrical, and plumbing fees be repealed in the Fairburn Code of Ordinances.
Okay, members of the council, the public hearing is continued again from the previous meeting. I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Hudson has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smallwood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, we're going to take a vote for the item now. Members of council, you have before you the item that was read by the Assistant City Clerk of the text amendment, mobile and modular. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Ms. Davis and second by Mr. Heath. Any questions or comments by council on this item? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
Number 6, text amendment, Georgia Highway 74 Overlay District. Recommendation for mayor and council to approve an ordinance to Chapter 80 zoning, Article 2, zoning districts, Division 2, district regulations, Sections 80-90, Georgia Highway 74 Overlay Zoning District in order to allow for an expansion of outdoor dining options.
Again, the public hearing is continued from our previous city council meeting. I would like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second by Ms. Davis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. We'll now take the item up for a vote. Members of council, you have the item before you for a text amendment of Georgia Highway 74 overlay that's been read by the city clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and properly seconded by Mr. Smallwood. Any questions or comments by council on this item? No questions. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item.
The next item is commercial vehicles text amendment. This is a request for mayor and council to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 56, Traffic and Vehicles, 5, Article 2, Parking, Section 56-28, Commercial Vehicles.
The public hearing is there, in this case, this is still continued from the previous one, Ms. Ross? Is new, so I don't need a public hearing for this one, okay? Okay. Members of council, you have before you an item for a text amendment, commercial vehicle text amendment. Is there a motion?
So move.
Ms. Hudson, was it? Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any questions or comments by council on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. I'm on item number 8.
It's a text amendment for non-conforming lots, uses, and structures. This is a request for mayor and council to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 80, zoning, Article 5, non-conforming lots, uses, and structures, Section 80-243.
Okay, again, this item was a public hearing is continued from the previous meeting. I need to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second by Mr. Heath. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. At this time, you have before you, members of council, for a vote, a text amendment for non-conforming lots, use, and structures that was read by the assistant city clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any questions or comments by members of council on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item,
It's going to be the consent agenda, and we're adding number 13 and
and 15.
15.
Okay, so I need to approve the consent agenda, correct?
Wait a minute, no,
You want me to read those?
Which ones? Did you say 14?
13 and 15. we're
Okay,
gonna add.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to approve this consent agenda, then we'll come back to item number 12, correct?
I'm sorry?
I'm going to approve the consent agenda and then come back to item number 12.
We're going to approve it. We need to read each one of them.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm going to do each one of them.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Members of council, you have before you the approval of the consent agenda item, the appointment of Ms. McCoy to the Development Authority, the reappointment of Tony Smith to the Planning and Zoning Commission, appointment of Ms. Tellis to the Arts Advisory Board, the City Hall re-roofing replacement, which was item number 13, and item number 15, Motorola radio and equipment purchase. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Now we go back to item number 12.
12.
Yes, ma'am. So now,
Number 12 is the Popeyes final plat. They're requesting mayor and council approval of the final plat for the commercial development located at 8350 Sonoy Road based on the criteria outlined in Chapter 77, Article 7, and an analysis of those provisions.
Hi, this item will be presented by our city planner, Mr. Chancellor Felton.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Good
evening, sir.
To be here before you tonight for the first time, and I hope everyone's New Year is off to a great start. Let us please review the final plat for the new Popeyes at 8350 Sonoya Road. The applicant has submitted a complete application for your review. The site is located next to the Meineke Car Care Center. The site is currently zoned C2, which is general commercial, and it is located in the Georgia Highway 74 Overlay District. The site is approximately 1.82 acres. And here's what it looks like today. They have included an accurate, up-to-date, and certified survey. The final plat meets the development standards of the C2 zoning district, as well as the Highway 74 overlay district, which includes the minimum yard setbacks, as well as the minimum lot area and width requirements. Staff recommends approval of the final plat. Thank you so much.
Members of council, you have before you a request for mayor and council to approval of the final plat for commercial development located at 8350 Senoia Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions by council on this item? No questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next item is number
Number 14, Fairburn Public Safety Complex Design Award. They're requesting mayor and council approve the award for a contract for RFP 24-002 for the Fairburn Public Safety Complex Architectural and Engineering Design and Construction Administration Services to Goodwin Mills Kaywood LLC in an amount not to exceed $259,500.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hey, sir.
Good evening.
So we're bringing this item before you as a follow-up from our discussions at the budget presentation for this year about starting the design of the public safety complex. And we went through a solicitation process with our pre-qualified on-call architects, and we have, through the committee and evaluation process, selected on Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, also known as GMC, to be the design consultant for this project. The initial dollar amount that we have set aside is for this beginning phase, which will focus on what we call phase one, which is a new police headquarters with a fueling station along with that. And then the subsequent phases would have the remaining public safety buildings to be built after that.
Okay. Members of council, you have before you a request for mayor and council to approve the award of a contract for the Fairburn Public Safety Complex A&E design. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any questions or comments by members of council?
Discussion, please.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. You can.
Yes. This 259,500 is for consultant only?
Is for the design consultant.
The design consultant. Okay, and how long, what is the time frame attached to this project for the consulting?
This award will attach them to the entire complex. We don't have a time frame yet because part of what we're going to do with this consultant is to develop the design of the entire complex. It will take more than 1 year to do so, but we wanted to get started this year, this fiscal year, with the design.
Okay, I noticed that the RFP on the bid website opened up 9/19/23 and it closed on 9/24. Can you tell me how many bids were submitted?
So this was released to our pre-qualified on-call architects that was approved by Mayor and Council back in February of 2023. So we went out to our list of 3 out of the 4 on-call vendors that were approved by this body to do this particular work.
So we have a pre-list of consultants already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is there any rule that no other applicants can apply from that pre-list? Once we put it out to bid, we just take the pre-list?
So if you're asking, can other people outside of the on-call vendors apply, then the answer would be yes, but we only submitted it to our on-call list with the purpose of just getting those vendors that we already pre-qualified to do the work.
Okay, for equity purposes, if we put a bid in our website, regardless of a pre-list that we already have, we're opening that up to other opportunities for other people to bid, correct? Or it's just for the pre-list?
Yes.
Because it would defeat the purpose to have an open bid open and no one else can apply. What I would like to recommend is that we manage equity in the process, making sure that we have the opportunities for minority contractors to bid on consultants' work here in the city of Fairburn. So what has been the practice when we have a pre-list? So we just go to the pre-list, we put it on the bidding website, and we're putting it on the bidding website as a checklist, just to say we did it? Yes. I get it.
Mike was not cut on. Because of the specific work the building operations does in building facilities like the fire station grand opening we did today, we brought to council a pre-qualified list of vendors that would be utilized to conduct the specific work on specific projects. The other bids that we talked about, like when we did the grant presentation earlier, though all those other bids are opened up to everyone. So I first wanted to clear up that this does not apply to every procurement. This is specific to the list and the work that was identified as part of our retreat and the capital projects that are done in buildings. So that's the first thing. And so those pre-qualified vendors went through a selection process before they were pre-qualified. That's how they got on the list. That was open to everybody. So everybody had the chance to apply to be on that pre-qualified list. That was an open bid process to any and everybody in the United States who wanted to apply. Once we went through that process and council approved that list, that is the list that that department is now working off of. So I just wanted to add that clarity that this is not a blanket list for every procurement in the city.
Okay. My next question, with this vendor is exclusive to our pre-qualified, and is this vendor would be seeking out any minority support, any subcontractor, any opportunities for minority vendors to have participate in this? Yes.
Ms. Councilwoman, I have, as an expert in the procurement compliance industry for now almost 30 years, I have to ask you to refrain, members of council. You cannot, Mr. City Attorney, would you validate what I'm about to say publicly? I literally just had the same conversation with a county commissioner a little over a year ago. Our procurement process cannot request whether a company can bid as a minority or not, or can be granted on the basis of being minority, small business, veteran business, because number one, we have not had a disparity study, number one. Number two, the disparity study will, number one, establish whether that is a need. Fulton County, as big as it is right now, the goal, even for, in this case, professional services, I believe, contractors would be, if I'm correct, I don't have the document in front of me, in this case, would only show the availability would be 2.14, I believe. And so for female, and I believe it's 3 point something for minority. But again, on the basis of you cannot require companies to acquire minority or female, even service disabled, disadvantaged, DBE, because of, am I saying it correct, of the state code. That's the law. That's not something I want to, as a professional expert that actually deals with this every day for Fulton County now for 30 years. One of the things I want to warn, it was actually members of this council, in case you forgot, I don't know if you remember, I want to say it was in 2016, and it was a public meeting, so I can say it actually, Ms. Lydia Glaze asked a very similar question, and I had to stop her, because not only if the item were to fail on the basis that you considered that it was not minority, if the item were to fail, we would actually be sued, and it's indefensible. And again, I'm not telling you something I think, I'm telling you as an expert in this area. Again, it's not that you don't want minority female-owned firms. There are specific guidelines, both having worked for the city of Atlanta on the Fifth Runway as the compliance officer, and now the compliance administrator over Fulton County government. So,
in context of my question, was not to demand,
yes, ma'am,
or to assert,
yes, ma'am,
that has to happen. As counsel and review of our practice, our contracts and RFPs, I am bound to ask that question to make sure that we have equity in the process for bidding. Thank you.
And yes, ma'am, and you're right, that is actually,
That's
yes, ma'am,
my stance.
yes, ma'am. The position is simple. Every council member up here is required to ensure that equity and inclusion is done, but it has to fall within the confines of the state law. That is, coincidentally, I just happen to be a mayor that's in the profession that ensures that. So again, we deliberately hire a procurement manager, because contracts that I wasn't convinced previously before my arrival again, that it actually followed the guidelines of state law. That's no offense to anybody else's administration, having been in this industry for so many years. One of the things I just make sure again, like I said again, that we follow the law. We can be sued for a vendor that feels like under any circumstances the contract was denied on the basis of minority, gender, or in this case, service disabled veteran preference, and there's one other small business enterprise, which in this case is run by the SBA. So again, I'm not questioning your motives, Ms. Hudson. I'm simply saying, as an expert in this field and the mayor of the city, I have to make sure that our council meeting, that anything that's stated through this mic in the procurement process is followed, is clearly not misunderstood under any form of fashion. So
At the liberty of administration, we can go over that process later.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't need to be guided in a council meeting about my intentions. Equity is across the board. It's not just about procurement. Equity in the process throughout our entire city. So regardless of what happened in the last administration, we are here today. Okay, and there's room for improvement and growth across the board. Thank you. I yield.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Next question. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
Yes, I have one question, but before I ask that, I want to piggyback on Councilwoman Hudson. It is my understanding, this has come up before. In fact, I think I brought it up before, and I was corrected. But I was also told that we are in a process of getting a minority, women-owned standard or operation or process. Are we in the doing?
Well, go ahead.
Wait a
Go
minute.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, we need some clarity then, apparently. Are we in the process of doing that, Mr. Phillips, in reference to having some protocol or process once we do our due diligence as it relates to state law, city law, federal law, in getting this protocol in place?
So if that is the will of council, that is exactly what we can do. If you're asking if we're currently putting a program in place, no, we are not. So there are a number of steps in that process. I think one of the ones the mayor mentions is called a disparity study. So we would have to put out an RFP, do a disparity study, and once that comes back, that is one of the initial steps in determining whether or not we qualify for those types of considerations in the procurement process. And so we can certainly do that if that is the direction from council.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was under the impression when this was brought up before, and I think I brought it up under a certain situation, I don't know. But I would like for us to start that process because I've been a business owner myself for 10 years, and a lot of contracts that I received in the millions of dollars was because I was a minority-owned business owner. And as a city, I was under the impression that after that initial discussion that I brought this up, probably improperly, that we were going to start that process. So I would like for us to start that process. I don't know if we need to take a vote on it or in further discussion, Mayor.
Here's what I'd like to do, because in this case, at our retreat, coincidentally, the retreat is scheduled, about 6 weeks from now, I guess. I'd like for us to have a conversation with council. That way, at that time, you can have proper people that could actually speak to this industry. Let me say one of the things that's aware that you guys probably not aware of right now. In the industry, the city of Atlanta has the strongest minority female program. Actually, coincidentally, the city attorney actually both have, I believe, worked for. Right now, in the industry right now, because of what has happened at the Supreme Court in our country right now, the industry and programs with the minority female programs, and it's including DOT, are now gearing up for a legal fight. I was actually part of a lawsuit that actually was sued when the city of Atlanta was sued by the Southeastern Legal Foundation. I think Mr. Rowe Stark, I think you remember that. And so, yeah, the nasty lawsuit. Myself, the current purchasing director, coincidentally, of Fulton County government, and myself, along with 8 other people, were actually part of that lawsuit. Again, and so one of the things that in our industry, in the compliance industry right now, we're gearing up because it looks like a lot of small cities, a lot of small counties, and I just had the conversation coincidentally earlier today that it's not a question if, it's a matter of when. In this case, one of the strongest programs in the metro area, city of Atlanta, is going to end up facing legal challenge because of the direction, unfortunately, in our country. So I just want to state that, but go ahead, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson, you still have the floor, actually. Go ahead.
Ms. Davis?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I think that would be a great idea for us to discuss that at the retreat so everybody can chime in on. But I really do think the city of Fairburn needs to have that. Okay, so my question on page 7, when we go to scheduling on page 7 and under the title of the project schedule for phase 1 is as follows. You have the construction phase from April 2025 to April 2025. So it's only going to take a month? Am I not
Typo.
reading this right?
It's a typo, ma'am. It's a typo. It's in that
So
schedule.
what should it be?
It's subject to change. We won't know at this time. That was the estimate at the time that they submitted their bids. That has, since that time till now, several months has passed. So that schedule will be revised once we get underway, hopefully, which will definitely be later than April now to get started. And that also will depend upon the length of the design, of course, collaboration with Chief Mazzillo and his team, and input from Mayor and Council. So, yeah, that's a tentative date to be determined.
Okay, so this was a typo in the presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Typo.
What it should have been, what should it have been?
It should have been April to, it would have been another year or so to the completion of that
2026.
building. Yes,
If I
ma'am.
could add some clarity here.
Okay.
They can't tell you how long it takes until we know what the building looks like.
Yeah.
Right now, we have an idea for a public safety complex. Nothing's been designed. Is it 20,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet? We have no idea. So that's why you sense an uncertainty about telling you it's going to take this definitive amount of time. Once they start the process, they'll start meeting with the stakeholders, the police department, the design team, and at some point, as they become with a basic design, then we can begin to put a timeline on, based on the design and what this project looks like it's going towards, then we can give a more definitive timeline. Right now, we have a blank sheet of paper, and we have no idea what the design will be. And so it will clarify and have more definite timelines as the process moves forward.
I would just like to add.
It's not that I'm rushing, I'm wanting a detailed line. I'm just going by what you presented here. And my question is, would it take a month? So it was a typo error, so that's fine.
No, to answer that a little bit further, we'll follow the same process that we did with Fire Station 23. We'll go through the design process, and then after the design process, of course, during that time, we'll get with Mayor and Council and we'll meet with staff. Then we'll go solicit for construction, and then we'll go into the construction phase. So
Okay.
we're following that same pattern of building and design.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Mr. Smallwood, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to piggyback and say at our retreat, I think it would be good to speak about this because this was one of the first initiatives I tried to propose when I came on council because there is, opportunities there. I think one of the persons I was speaking with before I came on council, who is awarded a lot of contracts, speaks about how, you might have to be creative with the language because minority may not be what you want to say, but awarding it to other people who don't get those contracts. So I think it is, though. I just want to piggyback that it is a good thing to put on our retreat because I think there's some opportunity there, but maybe just have to be creative with how we do it. Yes.
Go ahead, Mayor.
And I'd like to say, yes, I think we should discuss this more in detail at our retreat. But I want to say we do have minority participation in the Fire Station 23. There is minority participation. Now, how they got there, I don't know. But there is minority participation, and that is how they are classified. I also know that from during the previous administration, there were several minority firms that were hired and participated in the contracts awarded from the city of Fairburn. How they got there, I don't know, but I do know that they were there. So I can understand, Councilwoman Davis, how you thought that there may have been some protocol already established.
That was not mine.
Okay, well.
Yeah, that was what I'm not interrupting you, but I just want to clarify.
Okay.
I thought we had discussed this once before with the possibility of looking at a protocol on how to do that.
Okay, well, during the previous administration, we actually did. Okay, so, and there were some contracts awarded. Again, I don't know how all of that came about, but I do know it has existed. So if there are some things that we need to clean up, or some things that we need to, modify or do better, just to ensure, one, that we encourage the participation, and two, that there's success in being awarded those contracts, and of utmost importance that we don't violate any laws or set ourselves up for any legal challenges. Okay, so we can create a win-win with this situation. And so I would implore us to do that, because it has happened, and it is happening now. But I can't tell you how. So.
Go ahead, Ms. You had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council, for your feedback. I would tell you that in consultation with our procurement manager that we are following all state and federal guidelines as it relates to our procurement activities. As you know, that was one of the first tasks under Mr. Phillips' administration, was to actually hire a procurement manager so that we could centralize these services. Currently, she uses the procedures and guidelines from Fulton County. She did say that a study would take about 6 months, but that is something that we'll have on our radar and be happy to present to you during the retreat.
Okay, thank you.
With the corresponding budget, yes.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Okay.
And just for clarity, we do advertise through BidNet and notify all of our minority businesses if it's an RFP that they may be interested in submitting a proposal on. So just so you do know, we have broadened the ways in which we advertise to potential vendors.
Mr. Heath?
In our old jail that we used to have back in 71 when I started in law enforcement here, we had holding cells. Have y'all thought about looking at that? Because now we're, I don't know how much we're paying East Point, but we're paying East Point quite a bit of money, from my understanding, for them housing our prisoners.
Mr. Heath, we're still actually on the item that we're speaking of. We can address that, but that's not actually related to the item that we're talking about right now.
Number 14.
Item number 4. We'll come back to that during your public, during your council closing remarks.
Yeah.
You can bring that up.
Okay.
But at this point, I want to let us continue to speak that germane to this item. I got a couple of comments as well. Doing this screening of the of vendors, members of council, just so you understand. I mean, I think this won't be new to you. What happened? You heard it mentioned earlier by by the deputy city manager that we actually advertise through BidNet, which is a standard market practice now for large governments. In this case, BidNet in this case actually searches the database of the metro area, what is known as what is called the MSA, the Metropolitan Statistical Area. That basically means the 20 counties that surround Atlanta. And so what happened, even my office right now that has over 800 certified minority female-owned businesses alone, just with the Fulton County government, one of the first things that I required when I got back, and me and the city manager talked about that, was what were we going to advertise through the procurement process to ensure that vendors, minority female, not just minority female, in this case, service disabled, small business as defined by the SBA, and even when applicable, DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise. So a lot of that criteria has actually been put in our procurement process and that's exactly why we hired a procurement specialist, so that beyond a shadow of a doubt, no one could be questioned during a pre-qualification process. Just to address the pre-qualification process, one of the things that happens, ladies and gentlemen, as a person that's dealt with the fifth runway, There's a project now that's going on, I believe it's right there at Main Street at East Point, where actually the collaborative firm, Michael Hightower and Hogan Construction, is actually a joint venture. The process that the Fulton County went through was to ensure that before the request for proposal process, the pre-qualification was to ensure that no vendor, minority or majority, would launch out and try to build this project, and number one, not be able to finish it, and number two, not finish it on time, or finish it within budget. And so part of the pre-qualification process is to ensure that firms, whether minority or not, that's irrelevant in this case, if they decide to bid or submit a request for proposal, that we'll have some sense of surety that they can actually do the work. One of the problems one of the issues that I deal with for Fulton County government, and did it for the city of Atlanta, is companies that actually bid it and for whatever reason just cannot do the work. The number one failure of companies, both minority and non-minority, is in this case, the project was more than they could ever imagine, and they could not afford the capital. But those companies that were able to go get the capital, they lose the project, and they lose the shirt. I don't know the way to put it. And just to close this item, one of the biggest contracts that I was totally I can't tell you who it is because most of y'all know him. But this vendor, in this case, the Fulton County government and my office had to actually take the bid from the vendor out there. The Board of Commissioners awarded it 5 days. We had to take it from them and rescind the contract because it became very obvious in this case this guy could not facilitate, in this case, a project that required them to deal with all the courts in Fulton County. So just want to say the nature, and again, it's the seriousness that I take as it relates to the procurement process and specifically vendors that are actually awarded the work. We're gonna do a very similar thing when we get to this Parks Master Plan down the road. We're gonna have a very similar part. A lot of you guys don't remember this, but when that was here on council, when we built Duncan Park and the renovated Duncan Park, one of the issues that me and Tom Barber, the former city administrator, went back and forth about it because he actually wanted to put it out for bid with ITB, invitation to bid meaning low price. My concern was if I get it for the lowest price, I'm gonna get what I paid for. And so we went through the request proposal process, and I think it came down to 2 vendors out of all the people that could actually do the work. Out of the 12 that I remember, I don't remember if they actually submitted a proposal. I remember we talked about 2 in particular. So this process is a whole lot more convoluted, unfortunately, than most people understand. So with that being said, does any other member of council still have a comment? I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I would like to, Mayor, just in reference to the ability of a disadvantaged or minority or business in reference to financial capacity to deal with a contract. I think in our protocol, how we're going to write that up, it should be, they should have to pass the smell test, if you want to call that, if they're financially capable. One of the reasons as a business owner I became a franchise and a staffing company is to be able to go after $1 million, $5 million contracts because of I'm attached to a major corporation and I don't have to worry about going and getting those funds. So yes, I'm a minority, but I got $1 million contract for the Fulton County Tag and Tax Division, servicing all 3 departments by myself, and I would not even allow my franchisor to become a part of it. So, you know, there's ways to do these things, but what I want to talk for us to do is create something that will stand the test, state, federal, government, whatever, as it relates to all business. You can call them disadvantaged, minority, women, and if we have it written up right, then their ability to service will be identified whether they can or they cannot. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, you had it.
And just for a point of clarity, Mayor and Council, we have a number of existing contracts that have been awarded to minority businesses, such as the janitorial services that the city receives citywide, the grant writer presentation that you all heard today by Ms. Shannon, as well as proposals we received for the RFP that was initiated for the campus LCI project. So I don't want the perception for our residents think that we're not getting minority contracts, because we do have a number of those that have submitted proposals and have already been awarded, but we clearly hear you as far as tightening our process to make sure that that option is available.
And let me add, I for one am anxiously looking forward to our retreat and the opportunity to discuss this in great detail. There's a lot of precedent set around minority programs for procurement. This is not a new issue. And so I don't want anyone to leave this discussion with the idea that somehow this is too hard or we couldn't do this or anything like that. I think what we lacked was clarity about the council's intent. Once we have that, I can absolutely assure you we have the staff capacity and the professionalism to craft a program and put it in place. It's not in place because we somehow couldn't, didn't, wouldn't.
Right.
We just need clear direction from you as elected officials. Once you tell us ready, set, go, we will deliver that program.
Right.
That clarification will be acquired at our retreat, where we can totally candid conversation with each other about everything. Okay, go ahead, Ms.
And I also do not want us to leave this chamber. For the audience in this chamber, as well as those online and those who will be looking at this later. When we use the term minority-owned business or disadvantaged business or women-owned business, we are not talking about a business that is incapable.
Right.
These businesses are capable
Right.
to do the various jobs. They have those designations for other reasons, and it's called opportunity to do so. It is also, yes, sometimes they may have to joint venture with a minority firm, but it's about creating that opportunity for them. So please, just like the term affordable housing, I can't afford $1 million house. My house is affordable for me. And that's what the term means. So let's not say or think that minority or affordable is less than any of the rest of us.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comments by council? I just want, as a point of clarity too, since we're here, there at the retreat, some of the clarification that's going to be needed is the difference by definition. I literally wrote a letter today to a vendor about this. The difference between a small business and a minority business. And in this case, small business is by definition is based on gross receipts. And just for an example, an HVAC company by SBA standards that grosses under $15 million, over $1 million under 15, is by their definition is what's defined as a small business. And there's what is called NAC codes that fall in this case. Every trade you can think of in construction, professional services, there are NAC codes. And so again, a person that actually deals with that type of work, and again, at the retreat, we'll make sure that a person can, number one, clarify what do we mean by minority versus small business versus veteran-owned business, because again, the definition makes all the difference in the world, because in some cases, in this case, just since we're saying disadvantaged business, DBE, and again, is based on gross receipts, has nothing to do with ownership. It's purely gross receipt that's mainly dealt with by federal funded contracts. The standard market practice, if I'm correct. Is that correct? Yeah. Most of the time you'll see them at the airport, Hartsfield Airport or Charlie Brown Airport. But again, as a person that actually, in this case, that deals with DBA, let me say since we're here, let me say one other thing too. The reporting process, I just want to make sure I'm real clear. The reporting process when you deal with DBE, SBE firms and stuff like that, the reporting process is just expensive in some cases as actually implementing the project. I'm not telling you what I think. If you don't believe me, ask the city of Atlanta. I think they got cited, and it's been a few years back where they got cited because just in this case, improper reporting. As a person that's actually been audited now, I guess, 8 times in my 30 years by the federal government, the reporting process and the staffing that's required is nothing short. I mean, it's amazingly expensive. And I mean, for you guys that have dealt with it, you know. And so a lot of the firms, let me just be transparent, a lot of the minority companies that fall in the minority or SBE, a lot of them will shy away from federally funded contracts or reporting process because if you're found liable, you may cost the city government, if we use federally money for a project, you may cost us our funding. So it's just that serious. And so I just wanted to just make it clear that it's not a small feat, and we'll talk about that in great detail at the retreat, because I just want to make sure everybody on this body understands what is it that you're asking for. And again, as a person that's in the industry, the misunderstand, I do a lot of training and teaching of vendors and workshops, talking about that myself. So I just want to make sure we're clear. With that being said, members of council, we have an item that motion has been made and properly seconded, correct? There's a motion on the floor, correct, to approve? Yes. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, our protocol requires us to state why we abstain from voting.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Abstaining because I need more information about this particular item.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. City Attorney, you can explain what, in this case, you normally have to, again, like I said, so I guess my real question is, if she's abstaining, the vote is over. I'm just trying to understand the protocol now. Just abstain, okay,
Yeah, 5.
okay. Okay, all right.
It's approved with.
All right, all in favor, I mean, we already voted, so the item passes. Okay? So in this case, we'll go to Mr. City Manager's,
We have item number 16, the resolution authorizing the city of Fairburn to submit the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank, GTIB, funding application request for 2024 for the Duncan Park roadway project and for other related purposes.
okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening. Good evening.
The State Road and Tollway Authority has taken applications for small interest, for low interest loans and grant applications. The grant application is due on this Thursday, January 25th. This is the attempt to get supplemental funding for the Duncan Park Road project. We estimate the project is going to cost about $5 million, so we're going after $2 million through a GTIB grant, which is the maximum you can go for. So we'll supplement the funding, which we're already planning to pay for, with T-SPLOST funds and capital project funds.
Okay. Members of council, you have before you the item number 16 that's been read by the Deputy City Clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded by Mr. Smallwood. Any
You can
questions?
call my name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't tell who it was. I thought it was Whitmore. In this case. It all comes together. Y'all say aye. And so in this case, the motion been made and properly.
It was made by Hattie.
Made by
I
Hattie.
mean, well, Council.
Councilwoman Portis
And
Jones.
second by Mr. Smallwood.
I will say my name in the future.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. It all starts to flow together. And so in this case, does any members of council have a comment?
No, I don't. I don't have no comment.
Any question or comment?
I just want, for the record, this vote is to give you authority to seek the grant, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
There is gonna
And if
be-
awarded, you will bring it back to us to accept the award, to vote on accepting the award. Is that the way we do that? No?
There's no vote to accept. This is just to apply for the grant.
No, I know, if we were awarded the grant.
We're just going to accept it.
Yeah, okay.
I need to ask permission to accept $2 million.
It would be included in a budget amendment, but it would not require a separate vote to
We
accept.
did that in the past, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Just for transparency, there is a
So
200.
by approving the application, you are inferring that you will accept the money if awarded.
Okay.
There is a $250 application fee, so you're authorizing us to pay that $250.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I just want to know what we're spending.
Take a vote.
Let me straight. We need
Yeah, as on floor, so no more comments by council? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'm looking at Mr. Woodward, make sure.
He's upset. For the record, he's upset.
Okay. Members of council, we're gonna move, actually, our next item in this case is the finance director's monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor Avery,
Yes, ma'am, how you doing?
council members.
Good evening. Evening.
In Mr. Stevens' absence, I will be presenting to you the financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2023, fiscal year 2024. The general fund concludes its The general fund concludes its third month of fiscal year 2024 operations with $6.7 million in net cash flow. To date, the general fund has generated $11.13 million in revenue and $4.6 million in general fund expenditures. As of December 31st, the city has collected 42% of its year-to-date revenue. To date, the city has expensed 16% of its budget. Property and local option sales tax revenue represent the general fund's primary source of operating resources. Real property represents 27% of the general fund's revenue, while loss represents 5%. Of the $27,098,730 of budgeted general fund revenue, the city has collected $11,307,976 year-to-date. Revenue collected during the month of December totaled approximately $2,471,878, which increased the general fund's year-to-date total revenue collected to $11,307,976. To date, the general fund has collected 42% of its $27,098,730 originally budgeted revenue. General fund expenditures year-to-date total approximately $4,585,103, which is 16% of the budgeted $29,167,090 in expenses. Property tax revenue collected year-to-date total approximately $10,930,272, which is at 86.97% collected of the $12,567,979 billed out. The City of Fairburn's Enterprise Fund concludes its third month of fiscal year 2024 operations with $1.6 million in net cash flow. To date, the Enterprise Fund has generated $4.8 million in revenue and $3.2 million in expenditures. As of December 31st, 2023, the city has collected 19% of its year-to-date budgeted revenue and expensed 13% of its Enterprise Fund budget. As you can see, the main source of revenue for the Enterprise Fund comes from charges for services, which year-to-date total $4,816,615. Total revenue collected from Enterprise Fund year-to-date represent 19% of the revenue budgeted. Of the $25,036,739 of year-to-date Enterprise Fund revenue collected, $1,577,984 was collected during the December 2023 period. Total expenditure from the Enterprise Fund year-to-date represent 13% of the total expenditures budgeted year-to-date. Any questions should be directed to the city administrators.
I love it. I love
You got a
it.
question? Go ahead, Ms. Hudson, you got a question?
Okay, I noticed that historically, the city administrator's budget was not as much as it is now. We have over a $2 million budget for the city administrator, and I would like some context around that. What was the reason for that amount? And what are we utilizing this amount for? What is the flexibility of it? Do you have direct plans? Come on, roll with it.
We'd be happy to get you complete details on not only the city administrator's office budget, but all detailed budgets. Prior to your election to council, and what you will experience as we go through our budget this year is I believe we had the most transparent budget process of any city around. We go through every budget line for every department with every elected official. And I realize you weren't here for that process, so I understand your question. We'll provide that detail to you in significant detail, but going forward, you will be fully abreast of all budgets before they're approved. We not only go through that process with mayor and council for the mid-year budget, but more extensively for the annual budget. You get a presentation from every department head with a line-by-line description of the budget that's submitted to you before the meeting as a proposed budget for your review and questions and answers. So again, I'll provide you with a complete detailed breakdown of the city administrator's budget, but I wanted it to be clear for both you as a council member and for all of our citizens watching that this budget was approved by council after an extensive budget preparation process, and I'd be happy to get you all of those details.
Now, as the newbie, thank you for making that known. I wasn't a part of the process, but I watched and monitored the process very closely. And so noting the trends of our budget for our city administrator, this was the highest. And so I'm looking forward to having that detailed review. Thank you.
Part of the reason for that is that the city went without a city administrator for 3.5 years. So there really was no budget to compare this to. So if you're looking at previous years, there was no one in the job. So that's why the budget disparity may be different. But again, I'm happy to provide all of that detail. So the increase is because of, one, there was no one in the job for nearly 3 years.
No
And
deputy.
two,
No deputy.
there was no deputy in the job, period, before we arrived here. And three, the city has grown significantly. So again, all that detail was presented to the council when the budgets were approved, but part of the disparity is likely because there wasn't a city administrator for at least 3 consecutive fiscal years. And so there was no one doing the work.
Go ahead, you still got the floor, Mr. Hudson.
I yield.
Okay.
But Ms. Chris has some additional information.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good evening, Councilwoman Hudson. So of course, it does include the salaries of your city administrator, deputy city administrator, and our executive assistant, but we have a number of contractual, I guess, obligations in there, such as the city's liability insurance, all of the legal fees through our city attorney's office is paid through the city administrator's budget. We have our enterprise agreement for our fleet. The council was gracious enough to allow us to refurbish or refresh. It also includes the funding we put in for the GMA Supervisor Leadership Development Training that our department heads and supervisors will start on Thursday. Just trying to think some of the high-level ones. It also includes some of our dues and memberships for the city, such as GMA, which we have to pay annually. I think National League of Cities. So it's not, everything isn't just tailored to the city administrator's office. Anytime we do a retreat for mayor and council, as well as a retreat for our department heads, that funding is also included in our budget as well.
So between the city city attorney's office, the enterprise fund vehicle agreement, those probably make up 70% of that budget that you just referenced. And so most of that budget is for city services as the ones that Ms. Chris mentioned. I want to be absolutely clear for everyone listening. That is not what I make. I don't want anybody leaving this conversation.
Same here.
You sure you don't make too many dollars?
I'll be absolutely
I see
clear.
he's turning
The
a
vast
little
majority
red
of
over
that
there.
money is for city services, but I will provide that detail to you.
Absolutely. Any other member of council got a question? Okay.
It's okay, Mr. Phillips. It's okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chris. Next will be the city administrator's monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to take an opportunity, as council members, as you may recall, This report will be for months October through December. You know, we have a reduced meeting schedule in November and December due to the holiday season. And so typically, that's the time when we have a combined report, which this is. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at the report that was submitted as part of your agenda packet. I just want to highlight a few of the accomplishments. Because it's an extensive report, I don't have time to highlight everything. But if you have questions, please let our office know. For a few updates, the Old Campbell County Courthouse, the post-fire asbestos abatement and debris removal has been completed. The preliminary engineering reports are complete, and we finally have a final claim assessment from Travelers, our insurance company. So that's a significant move in the right direction. The classroom building number 2 renovations are nearing completion, where we'll be relocating several offices, probably beginning late in this first quarter. So we're excited about that progress moving forward. We hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Serious Law Group grand opening on October 7th. Very excited about them. They're a good community partner. One of the firm is already participating on one of our boards, and so we're excited about that. It's the first minority-owned law firm in our downtown corridor, and so we're excited about that. We kicked off our excuse me, small business grant development program. It's kicked off in the month of October. We had a number of businesses to respond. We've now kicked off phase 2 of the small business grant program, and we're excited about the number of businesses that have responded for this second opportunity. Excuse me. We went forward in October with our Illuminated Spaces program, partnering with our local Dashboard Art Collective. That was a significant opportunity for us in the downtown corridor. Artist Roberto Rafael Navarrete made a tremendous art display in the old antique mall. So we're excited about that. We completed our campus project bond refunding project with the Development Authority of Fairburn. That will save the city about $800,000 over the next 4 years. And so we're excited about the opportunities that will provide. We had a very successful Christmas tree lighting program again this year. It's an annual event that our residents truly enjoy, so I want to thank all of our departments for coming together for that. We've had several new businesses locate to the city, and I don't have time to detail all of them. I will tell you that one that we're particularly excited about, and that you may have seen if you've driven down Highway 74 recently, is Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a new business that's taking the place where Hardee's used to be. So they're renovating that space. And for those who may not be familiar with Tim Hortons, this is a large chain that's very popular in the Northeast and Canada. They have over 5,200 locations around the world, most in Canada and the northern United States. They announced an initial expansion into Georgia 2 years ago with plans for more than a dozen locations around the state. The first one was done in Columbus, Georgia last year, and Fairburn will be the second location, Tim Hortons, in the state of Georgia. The sign is now on the building, and so the ribbon cutting will be coming soon. We're excited about that. The Popeyes on 74 is now completed, open and selling hot chicken. Anybody who wants Popeyes can go by and get some chicken, and we're excited about adding businesses to the Highway 74 corridor. I will tell you as a general update that the development interest and calls across the city, and specifically in our downtown corridor on Highway 74, has escalated significantly. We are getting more calls today than we've gotten in many years. And so we'll have to be very judicious about which projects we think we want to recommend to you as mayor and council, which ones we think fit not only the growth of the city, but retains our culture as the city of Fairburn. So we're moving forward with that. The Main Street program, one of the exciting new steps is the Rotary Clock Commission that this council approved last year. It will be going in at the college campus. I believe the fundraising deadline, there'll be an opportunity for businesses, families who like to get a memorial plaque that will go on the clock. It will be right at the back of the courtyard at the Fairburn Education Campus. And so we're excited about that. It's the first historic clock in downtown Fairburn. We're looking forward to that. As you may recall, we revised our homestead exemption in December of this year, which will hopefully provide a lot of financial relief for our seniors. We took our homestead exemption from $10,000 per individual to $25,000. We also included a cap on property values at age 70. That is typically the primary reason why a senior will see a higher tax bill. Is not because this council raised property taxes, but more commonly because the value of their property as assessed by the county increased. By putting this cap in place at age 70, those 70 and older will never have to worry about that again. If their property values go down, we will of course reduce that property value in the system, but it will never be any higher than what it is at age 70. And as long as property taxes remain steady, they should not see any increase in their property tax bill moving forward. We also had a fall shredding event and a fall cleanup event, both of which were very, very successful. We hosted our second annual Breast Cancer Awareness Walk and had huge participation for that. It's been mentioned earlier tonight that the Parks Master Plan is ongoing. We're excited about the conclusion of that during the first quarter of this year. We hosted, as always, our 2023 Fairburn Fall Festival and Parade. It was a absolute success. We had over 2,400 parade participants. That's actually people participating in the parade, over 45 vendors and over 22 special guests. We had a number of sensational senior activities. We had coffee and canvas in November. We had our Golden Holiday Brunch. We have now a pickleball partnership with the city of East Point. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing recreational activities for seniors across the country. So we're looking at other opportunities to expand upon that. And lastly, we had a significant step forward on our Real and B. Smith streetscape project. Mr. Thompson, I believe we've had 39 lights installed? Okay, 65 new street lights have been installed as part of that project over the last 45 days. And so if you've not had a chance to see that, it's a significant improvement, along with sidewalks. And so we're looking forward to that project completing within the next 30 days. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Any member of the council got a question for the city administrator? Mr., and I don't know if you came prepared. After our meeting last time, you had some clarification you wanted to bring to council about the sanitation service.
Yes. So the one bin solution is what Amwaste provides. They provide it for the city of Noonan. They provide it for the city of Tyrone. There's a whole list of cities where they're doing the same program. It does have recyclables and trash in one container. There is an extensive presentation on our website, along with a video people can click on to watch, to explain how they sort the recyclables from the trash. It is an approved process that they've been doing for several years. So I recognize this is new. And for folks who are used to separating those things, I understand the questions. But this is not a new process. Amwaste has done this same thing in the cities I just mentioned and in a number of cities across the state and in other areas. It is more efficient from a service delivery standpoint. Anyone who needs an additional can for space, that is available for, I believe, $7 a month, $7.50 a month through Amwaste. But I would invite anyone who has questions to go to the website and go look at the presentation that we've posted that not only has an explanation on the website, but a video that you can click and watch as well, where it takes you through the process, actually shows you the plant where they do the sorting of the recyclables, the refuse, and that is all that information is on our city website for anyone who would like to get that information.
Ms. Jones, go ahead.
Yes. When will the discounted rates go into effect?
Yeah, they're loading those into the system now. We're working through that with Amwaste, but they should be in effect by the end of the month.
Okay. Will it be retroactive for
So they've only
beginning of? I know, but what we sold was that beginning January 2nd or 3rd, that the rate would be X, and that you would receive the discounts. So most recent bill we received reflects the old rates. So will it be adjusted because we are delayed in uploading the discounts for all of our seniors?
Yes. So the service began on January 3rd.
3rd, okay.
Right. So any previous bill was likely a GFL bill.
No, well, the bill we just got day before yesterday or 2 days ago.
So any adjustments to that bill, yes, will be updated based on the published rates.
Okay, so it will be retroactive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let me be clearer.
Okay.
We will absolutely adhere to what we advertised.
Okay. All right, and then clarification regarding the recycling. What's still at question is, or being questioned, is the contamination. I'm not understanding how the process deals with the contaminated recycled material, recyclable material. So
So-
how is that addressed?
That is in the video I just referenced, that's on the website. So we posted all that information so that anyone can go and access it. So I didn't come prepared to walk everyone through it, but it is publicly accessible, not only with a flyer that lays out the process, but with the video I referenced as well, so people can click on that video, and it's 4 or 5 minutes long, but it walks through the entire process, how they separate the recyclables from the trash, and the viability of that process, including contamination.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead, you had a question, Ms. Davis?
No, I'm good.
Any other question?
I just really have a question related to follow-up with citizens when they come for public comment. We have a citizen that came back from our first meeting of the year noting the same concerns, and I understand the process is to get back with residents when they come within, is that 48 hours? She came back again, which tells me that no one followed up with her. It's important that citizens feel that they are being heard. She spoke about water quality, utilities, and waste management. She probably won't have the resources that we have here as council. I know now she knows to go look on the website about the waste management, but the acknowledgement of her concerns need to occur. Thank you.
So for clarity, thank you for that, Councilwoman Hudson. My understanding from staff, and I'll verify this, was that there was a conversation about the paymentus. The sanitation has been on the website for over 30 days, and there was a conversation about that. The previous time when that particular citizen came, the water concerns and the Fulton County 911 were mentioned this evening. So we'll certainly follow up on those as new concerns, but I want to be very clear that those first two, my understanding from staff, I didn't have that conversation, was those two were addressed. If not, I can assure you that it is always our policy to follow up on any public comments in a timely manner.
Thank you. I know you follow up my emails all the time.
Any other members of council got a comment? Okay. If not, I'll go to council. I'll start with council comments. Ms. Hudson, we'll start with you.
Ooh, why Ms. Hudson?
I rotate.
Okay, I made some notes so I can be very intentional about what my recommendations, my comments are. I want to thank those who have served our city on boards and those who have been reappointed. What I think can improve is the recommendations for appointments, the consideration given to council, a bio of the individual, and for our residents to see their reason for wanting to serve in a particular capacity and what they intend to lend toward wins for our city. Reappointments should highlight the contributions and progress they have made, glow and grows, with the statement of how their services has helped to move Fairburn forward. It's important to highlight these accomplishments as it further encourages the individual and others to get involved. Additionally, I noticed a practice of every year, the first city council meeting of the year, there is recommendations made to council for the appointment of city attorney, city administrator, our city clerk, as well as our police chief, and that did not occur. So I would like some dialogue or some information about that. If you can't answer now, I can get that later. I also would like to get some information around this roof repair. If we have insurance, what part of the insurance will be covering that repair? I was not able to review the information in total, and so I would like more information around that. I would also like to ask, I know that our charter does not inform a specific date for the submission of the agendas to council, but I would like to ask if that date, because the language is some date before, a week before, that meeting, if that date could be on a Monday instead of a Wednesday. I know we're getting them consistently on a Wednesday, and if there's any changes that need to be made midway, I'm okay with that. Pretty much for today, I wanted to say one of the things that I'm very proud of is to see the forward moving of the fire station. That has been one of my concerns for many years here in Fairburn, and if those who know me, I've raised my voice adamantly about making sure that we had fire protection, to make sure that our businesses were protected. And so I feel good that there was a collaborative effort from both administrations to acknowledge that work that was done prior and how it's moving forward. I want to thank our staff and all of our sub-boards for their service and what they're doing. As I sit here new on council, I'm not new to service and working in a capacity and understanding how to meet the needs of our city as well as the role of governance. And so I just wanted to yield at that, and I thank you very much, Mr. Phillips, for responding to my emails. I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but just like my peers, I'll get up to speed with them as well and use their expertise. And so that's all I have to say. The roof, I definitely need information on that, that expenditure. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I do believe I have a male's voice.
Oh, my God.
I tell you, I have never been called Hattie Portis Jones before. But that's okay.
That's not a bad thing now.
For me, it is.
Okay.
At any rate, I am hampered a little bit. I've been suffering with a cold, but thank God that I'm getting better. I'd just like to say that I had the opportunity of participating for the third consecutive year with Cook Funeral Home yesterday when they had their third annual commemorative service where they celebrate the lives of all the people that they service in passing on the previous year. This year, again, the mayor was there, I was there, along with Chaplain Lackey. And Chaplain Lackey was actually the keynote speaker, and his words were very much encouraging to the families that were in attendance, as well as for those of us that were attending in an official capacity. I tell you, I love it when I'm going out to our various businesses and I see the things that they're doing. They are bringing the value to the city of Fairburn. I appreciate it. I'm sure the citizens appreciate it. And I'm sure every member sitting up on this dais appreciates it as well. So I just wanted to say, commend Cook Funeral Home for that. And then my other comment would be about the fire station. Yes, Chief, we're there. It was a very, very moving, cold day, but we got through it, and we're looking forward to the dirt being moved. And I was told that as of tomorrow morning, we're going to be seeing some movement.
Good.
So that's a good thing. It's finally coming to the other side of town, which is going to help to keep their insurance rates down, both commercially and residentially. So that's a very big impact that we have for our citizens here in the city. So looking forward to seeing that final product. With that, Mayor, I'll yield.
Mr. Heath?
Yes. As I mentioned a little bit earlier about our new jail, we at one time had our own holding cells, and so therefore we didn't have to depend upon Union City, East Point, or anyone else. And that would be something I would like to see again, because a lot of times people that are transferred from Fairburn to East Point, that's where they're housed at now, the people that are maybe trying to find them to get them out of jail, that creates a problem for some people. They may not have transportation to drive that distance or whatever. So I would like to see, for the convenience of the people, you know, here again, they're violating the law, DUIs, whatever like that. But when you consider taking an officer that's on duty out of town, drive that person to East Point, and then they got to come back, well, you cut down your manpower. And that was another thing that when we had that set up in 1971, we usually, there was only one officer on the weekends, and it was me. And so every hour I'd have to go in and check the prisoners to make sure that they were okay, and then to bond them out as well when the bondsman came. So, and then they were able to get their vehicle because it's impounded locally as well. So that was what I was wanting to do, is just find out if that was a consideration in the plans. I didn't know. It is.
No, let me check and see. I know that we're in the planning stages. So let me have that conversation with staff, because in addition to the design of the facility, there are some other legal ramifications to actually housing prisoners that go along with that. So we need to take a holistic look at that. I know that the design phase could accommodate that.
Yes.
I'd need to have some police chief and, see how that might impact how we move forward.
And the last thing is, I am so delighted to see that fire station. I mean, I went to one groundbreaking, and that was like a year or two previous to this one today. But I'm really glad to see that it's actually coming to pass. I mean, that made my day when it.
Well, about 30 minutes after all of you left this morning, the porta potties were delivered and those machines were moving. So this was not a photo op this
great.
morning. That is now an active construction site.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. That's all.
Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. I too am just over the moon about Fire Station 23. It's been a long process with lots of ups and downs and challenges from every front. But we're finally here. And I am just very ecstatic about that, and just more emotional about being involved in that process, and working with my colleagues to make sure that happened. So congratulations, Chief, and congratulations to the City of Fairburn for having another fire station that is long overdue. In fact, we're behind the 8 ball because we need another one. But that's just a testament to our growth, which is a good thing. We just have to manage it well with the resources that we have. So congratulations, Mayor, congratulations, Mr. Phillips and Ms. Chris, and to Chief Robinson and your team. I know. And a special thank you to the Bedford School, who donated the land to us, that created that opportunity for us. And it was just a joy to have them participate with us today as well. And it will be great for them to be a part of that facility when it is operational. So congrats on that. Thank you, Mr. Phillips and Ms. Chris and staff again for the grant writer, the grant team, and the presentation that we have there. Yes, this is something that I have talked about ad nauseum, and that is because there are opportunities out there that it just hurts my heart that my city, our city, is not able to take advantage of because we just didn't have the capacity to go after that. And this is the beginning, and I am glad about the approach, that it's a pilot and that we're going after the low-hanging fruit. But fortunately, unfortunately, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, right? Yeah. So we've got to kind of pick and choose that, but I am just ecstatic about that opportunity. And I do encourage the team, if they can get their Northeast team to participate in NLC's congressional, because that truly is a great opportunity to meet the federal staff who can help make some things happen. When you know people and they know you, they'll answer your call. And that just kind of gives us an extra leg up, if you will, into it. So please, if you can make that happen. Mayor, thank you for the proclamation to former Mayor Hannah. It was a moving service that we had, that they had last week. And condolences and empathy and sympathy and all of those emotions for the family to have lost both of the parents, you know, back to back. But, you know, sometimes life just throws us these curveballs and we don't understand. But the grandson, when he spoke, I think said it best. He said he didn't understand why his grandmother is gone so soon after his grandfather had left. But he was there waiting on her.
Oh, yeah.
That he was there preparing for her. Because it was he who was taking care of Mayor Hannah. And he needed his rest too. And now they are together. It's hard to understand that, but they are together. So, and it's emotional for me because many of you know I lost my husband. You know, it's been 2 years now. And so you have those moments. So I feel the pain. I feel the pain. But Mayor, thanks for acknowledging who she was and what she had done for the city. And it is up to us to carry on that legacy. Thank you.
Mr. Smallwood?
All right, I'll be brief. I just always like to take this time, thank everyone who came out. I love the process. I still love living in Fairburn because we have an A1 staff, so I like to take the time to always thank the staff. We just went through that brutal cold snap, though Councilmember Hudson says that's not cold because she's from Chicago. I'm from New Orleans, so, you know, that was cold. -5 degrees is cold, but I say that because I know in that cold spell of 2022, I believe it was, I was affected 4 days without, so we did not have any interruption in service. I sent a little text in our group like, hey, I'm praying, and but you know, but you know, but City Administrator Phillips replied back that they were already in contact with Atlanta and everything that they could do was being done. And so and then beyond that, there was a resident that called me, one isolated incident, no water, found out it was just that something going on with that person's house, but I put it in the group. They say, hey, what's the address? 5 minutes, there was a knock at that resident's door, and that was being handled. So that's stuff that's going on behind the scenes, but I always like to just make it public because this is above and beyond. Like I said, that's 8 in the morning. I can't remember what morning it was, Sunday morning. On the way to church, but he's handling business. So just thank you all, staff, for doing what you do. Residents, I don't know if it has been out already, but residents were telling me they saw the street sweeper out doing its thing. And yes, shout out to Mr. Thompson because yes, Verlin B. Smith is lit up like a Christmas tree now. It is beautiful. In fact, the whole backside of my house is like sunshine in the middle of the night. That's why I said, he said, you like it? I'm like, yeah, I like it. But I know it's progress. And so we, you know, from almost a decade now, me being in the city, this city is changing rapidly for the better. We're moving, I believe we are having that smart growth. I mean, because growth is inevitable, but you have some people here on this council as well as this A1 staff that's making sure that it grows properly and in a smart and efficient manner. So thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Okay, Councilman Smallwood, that was very brief.
I I know you all. Y'all ain't talking. We gonna get into family business while everybody in here.
You make it up for lost time, but no, listen, everything has been said, and I concur with all of my colleagues in their comments and everything, and I appreciate you all being so deliberate with your comments. So just ditto everything that they have said is coming from my heart. I don't need to say it again. But a special congratulations to Chief Robinson and the ribbon cutting at the fire station. I wasn't able to be there in person, but in my heart, I was thinking about y'all in that cold weather. So I know that's a major feat. And of course, our staff, whenever we do anything, or they are behind the scenes, on the side of the scenes, in front of the scenes, they are everywhere. Their footprint is all over everything that we do, and it is done in such a professional and customer service-oriented manner. And I'm just so proud to live in the city of Fairburn and to be a part of the leadership here in Fairburn. But there's one announcement that I want to make that I'm excited about. Mr. Phillips, you may not be, but woo! The Georgia lawmakers are now looking into these property taxes increasing, and they are hearing the complaints from our citizens statewide in reference to the rising of the values. Not necessarily, we have not raised any millage rates or anything, but the rising values of property taxes to our citizens and the stress, particularly on our seniors. And I've been an advocate for this ever since I've been on council. And this administration has done a lot in reference to the homestead exemptions, and you did it like within 6 months. So I appreciate that, and we're continuing to do it, and I appreciate that, Mr. Phillips, with the additional homestead next year, and that cap for our seniors at 70. So, but the House Speaker, the Republican House Speaker, John Burns, is proposing doubling the state's homestead tax exemption. They had a hearing today, and they also want, with the home values being increased, and that's beyond our control, and I really don't think there's an exact science for increasing our home values, but that's just my opinion, that they are looking at capping 3% per year, capping on those property taxes when those values go up. So when I heard this on the news and I went and I copied it, I was like, very, very, very exciting. Because it makes a difficult situation for people, not only seniors, but, and not only retired people, but people work every single day. When they, 1 year you're paying $700, the next year you're paying $1,200. I mean, it really affects our citizens' budget statewide. So I'm excited that the state is looking into this, and I'm sure this is gonna flow down to the cities as well, hopefully. So I'm excited about that, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And again, I want to just thank the staff for the fire station groundbreaking today. Thank our entire staff, Dana Smith. It was actually a team effort. I can't thank everybody that was involved because there was so many experts that was actually involved with the saving of money in terms of our costs, the proper A&E engineering, the whole nine yards. And there was a lot that went on with just to bring us today. I want to just actually in this case to give honors due. You heard me during the proclamation mention that Mayor Hannah actually was the person that actually brought Fairburn Fire to the city of Fairburn from Fulton County. But I actually want to commend former Mayor Hurst as well, because it was actually during her administration that he basically made sure that this area did not basically require any other development other than what it was originally intended. So I want to commend her for that as well. But again, I want to thank the staff from 2016 that actually, Chief, along with the former administrator, who's actually in this case, Tom Barber, and that actually had a great deal of foresight, basically in this case, to get the Bedford School to donate the land and basically in this case, understand what was actually going to be impacted. I'm very excited because that side of town is finally going to get a level of recognition that's been long overdue, not because anybody didn't want to do it, but it's in this case, it's finally the season. And so I'm excited about that. Ms. Hudson, I was just going to mention to you that, if you don't mind, I'm sorry. One of the requests that you made about how long it takes to get the packet, what's going to happen, I was going to bring to the council about that because a lot of the hours and the time that it actually takes staff to compile that and for me to go over it with the city manager to make sure that questions that I would ask if I was a council member, and there's been a lot of times where I've had to pull items that would come to it that did not make it to the agenda because of the fact that I didn't have the clarification that I thought I needed for a council member. So, and I mean, I appreciate your request. It unfortunately just the hours that go into trying to make sure that the information is vetted is beyond belief. And they do a lot of vetting trying to make sure by the time they sit with me that I don't ask 100 questions and say, is there a reason why y'all didn't think about this before we got to this point? So I just want to address that request. And again, thank you for asking it, but I think I owe you that explanation that I was going to. Yes, sir.
I just wanted two quick clarifications. Thank you for that, Mayor. There is a lot of internal deadlines for our staff that they have to meet well before it ever gets to the mayor's review and well before it gets to you as council members. But the one thing that we have not mentioned about Fire Station 23 all day, I think is important for our citizens to know, is when we have the grand opening for that facility, we will have built that fire station debt-free. We will not owe anybody. It will be paid for. And so I just thought that was important for our citizens to know. And that's due to the vision of the mayor and council and Tom Barber and some of the folks that were here years before, but that's important. We will cut that ribbon on a debt-free facility. It will be paid for.
And I'd like to also acknowledge our former public safety director who's here tonight. He was actually, Mr. Walk Brown, raise your hand so the folk can see who you are, sir. He was actually a part of our fire and police for years, and so again, and a former city employee. So just want to say thank you so much for the job well done. I want to thank you thank the headmaster today. I thank all our council members that was there. I was so excited to see all the kids that were at that groundbreaking today, and so I don't know if they made it to the drone that actually recorded all of us waving it along with the children, but it was a beautiful sight to see the Bedford School and the kids participate in this historic moment for the city of Fairburn. I also want to give honor where honor's due in this case, where I want to thank Senator Warnock, who actually took time to actually send me a document and send a recognition for Mayor Hanna as the longest serving mayor of this city. As I spoke with his office, it was actually their suggestion that we have something we have to send to you to recognize this long-serving mayor of the city of Fairburn. So I want to just thank his office and thank him for taking the time to acknowledge Mayor Hanna's tenure as mayor of this city. I want to also, I'd like to enter the day of the city council. I think that's all of my comments. The city, Mr. City Attorney, it's a real estate matter that we're, okay. So members of council, if I can entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss a real estate matter.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Have a great night. Unfortunately, ma'am. Okay, we're ready to go. Go ahead, Mr. City Attorney. We're now back in regular session. Go ahead, Mr. City Attorney.
So the, with respect to the last item in your package referred to as parcel 3, you're gonna vote on, to the extent that the process that the owner does not voluntarily sell, you're agreeing to move forward with the condemnation process at fair market value. And that's parcel 3.
Right. Members of council, you heard the motion stated by the city attorney. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Parcel 3 or 1? Parcel 1 is the condemnation. I thought you said parcel 3.
Let me let him restate it.
So parcel 1 is the condemnation.
Okay.
Parcel 1 is the condemnation. You
Okay.
said parcel 3, but
All right, we're gonna, in this case, the motion, we're asking for a motion based on what the city attorney just said for partial 1 is condemnation. Is it,
Are you good, Linda?
I move,
okay? Is there,
parcel 1.
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments by council? Seeing none.
Parcel 1.
Yeah, okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. Now the next
One is
item.
a approval for a resolution by the city of Fairburn City Council to acquire from Betty Jo Coleman a certain piece of property located at Oakley Industrial Boulevard, Fairburn, Georgia, for $10,000 for the purpose of designing and constructing a left turning lane on Oakley Industrial Boulevard, authorizing the mayor to execute accordingly.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion second by Ms. Porter Jones. Any questions or comments by council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'm sorry.
Second. Do you need these back?
Motion's made, and I'm sorry, I didn't get, it was
Who was
Ms.
the second?
Mr.
Davis?
Small.
David.
I'm sorry, I couldn't tell. Who made the motion?
To close, I did.
Oh.
You know.
Oh.
You know. I was signaled by a small